Voices of Change is a global community for educators, leaders, and changemakers. A space where voices are heard, ideas are shared, and meaningful growth begins. Our vision is to amplify educator voices and inspire meaningful change across global learning communities. Our mission is to connect people through collaboration, professional growth, and shared purpose. Voices of Change offers professional learning, events, webinars, resources, publications, partnerships, and opportunities for educator visibility. We serve educators, trainers, school leaders, organizations, and community partners who believe every voice can contribute to better education. Join the movement, connect globally, learn continuously, share your voice, and grow your impact. One community, many voices, greater impact.
Welcome to the Voices of Change global launch, Grow Beyond the Classroom. Please welcome to the stage VOC co-founder Blanka Paulak.
Hello, everybody.
Well, I was thinking to say good morning or maybe good afternoon, but then I realized that for some of you, it's already good evening. And for some of you, the week just started, and for some of you it's just about to start. And as for me, it's just the beginning. I was thinking that being surrounded by technology in education, the constant discussion about AI, from time to time, I don't know how about you, but I feel a little bit lonely. I just get the feeling that no matter what I do, I'm not going to catch up with the constant changes. And that is exactly the message and the idea behind the community that we recently decided to build, to grow, just to, plant this small seed and make a change. So all together with Lee Kwok, Mohammed Nabil, and Robert Stroud, we decided that more than ever, we need the place for global educators to meet, discuss, talk, complain maybe, share ideas, best practices, and rise together. And this is my message for you. If you feel lonely, if you get the impression that in education, instead of change, you got stuck, you can count on us and you can count on every educator that is going to join to this community. So observe Voices of Change and watch out. Stay tuned because we are preparing something for the ground opening.
And the ground opening it is today. It is my pleasure to say to all of you, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Please quickly let me know in the chat if you hear me, and most likely if you are all prepared. We do hope you are. Wherever you are joining us from, I just wanted to say welcome to the VOC Global Launch event, Grow Beyond the Classroom. And today, it's not only the beginning of a new organization, this is what I can promise, because it is the beginning of a shared professional home for educators, for you, for schools and education organizations who, the same as we, believe that voices should be heard, growth should be supported, and quality should be visible. And for today, our theme is Grow Beyond the Classroom. We chose this theme because powerful teaching doesn't stop at the classroom door. This is what we believe. Every idea tested in a lesson, or strategy refined through the experience, or every small success with a learner, every challenge that is turned into learning, all of them have value beyond one room, one school, and one context. When teachers share what they know, we believe that their work travels further. When educators connect, their courage grows stronger. When schools and organizations make quality visible, trust grows. And today we are joined by you, educators and partners who believe that teaching and learning can move from the classroom into a wider world. And we are here because We believe that even the smallest move in education can carry meaning, and that meaningful work deserves to be seen, shared, and celebrated. So please stay with us until the end. Grab some coffee or tea, make yourself comfortable, like at home. And throughout today's event, you will meet inspiring guests, hear real stories, join live interactions, watch our community voice video contest, and take part in moments of recognition and celebration. And we will also have free certificates, gifts, raffles, and awards waiting for you. So many surprises for today. Most importantly, we do hope you leave today with something practical, something hopeful, and something that reminds you your voice matters, your work matters, and together we can grow beyond the classroom. However, before we go forward further, let us hear from you. Please take a look at the screen and open the poll on Mentimeter link and tell us where you are joining us from. If you have problems in opening the link, that's okay. Let us know on the chat. And tell us where you are joining from. Then share one reason you believe educators need community. It's not a test, don't worry. There is no perfect answer here. We simply want to see the voices in the room, because this is exactly why Voices of Change was created. So let's see. First, we've got Japan in the house. Scotland. Oh, hello, Scotland. It's good to have you. Armenia. We do hope that our map is going to get bigger and bigger and more countries will appear starting from today. And thank you for letting us know also in the chat. Lebanon, Tunisia, Bangladesh, Egypt, to all of you. Hello, make yourself at home. Peru, Morocco, Ukraine. Wonderful. We are going to have more and more responses as I see on the chat. It's very, very live. And this is what we kindly ask from you, to make the chat very live today. So thank you for sharing. Where are you joining us from? And now, as I mentioned previously, share one reason you believe educators need community. I am absolutely aware that it might be pretty tricky to choose only one, but try to choose the best. Maybe something that has been bothering you recently. We grow as human beings in communities. I absolutely agree with that. I agree with all of the responses, actually. Only another educator truly understands the joys and challenges of being an educator. Yes, indeed. Joys and challenges, yes. Sometimes we are on a bumpy road, that's correct. Support network to learn. Sharing is caring, that's one of our beliefs as well. Modern life can isolate people. Thank you for this honest answer. Teaching most not to be isolated and navigating this in the era of AI. We are going to talk about AI today as well. So for now, from these words and places, we already see why VOC exists. Educators may work in different contexts, but many share the same need. We are seeking as human beings connection. We are searching for support, recognition, and space to grow. And exactly for this reason, VOC was created, to become a global professional home where you, educators, can be heard, supported, and recognized, and where schools and education organizations can make quality visible with confidence. Our mission is to open pathways for educators like you to grow, share, connect, and create impact beyond the classroom, beyond one classroom. So this activity we've done together, it's not an opening poll only, because it is a small picture already that is inbuilt in VOC itself. Many voices, many teachers as you, many educators, many contexts. However, one shared belief that education grows stronger when we rise together and change together. That being said, thank you for sharing your responses. And if Voices of Change begins with the belief that we educators need community, then one of the urgent questions for that community is this: how do we prepare learners for a future that is already arriving? We welcome difficult questions. Our first speaker, Dr. Eric Hawkinson, has spent years exploring that question. Dr. Hawkinson is a learning futurist, educator, researcher, and experience designer based in Kyoto, Japan. He is a professor at Kyoto University of Foreign Studies, where his work focuses on the future of learning, immersive technology, digital citizenship, and responsible use of emerging tools in education. Beautiful blend. He's also the founder of Together Learning, a platform and publishing initiative dedicated to open knowledge, creative learning design, and technology-enhanced education. And today, he will speak on why the AI generation needs what we never had. I'm absolutely curious what's hidden behind this message. And his session invites us to think about what happened when many of us entered the internet age without a clear guidebook. We've been there, done that. And why the AI age gives education a second chance to do better. Today, he will explore why digital citizenship is not just optional skills training, but part of preparing students to understand power, trust, manipulation, agency, and responsibility in a world shaped by emerging technologies. So it is my pleasure to welcome, and please join me all together in welcoming our first speaker, Dr. Eric Hawkinson. It is so great to have you.
Good evening, Blanca. Good evening, everybody. Everybody can hear me okay, I hope? Yeah.
Let's see the chat. Let us know if everything is good. If you already said, you've already have lots of hellos,
Yes,
Dr. Eric.
wonderful. Thank you for that in the chat. That's wonderful.
Thank you for being, and it is my pleasure to say the stage is yours.
Thank you, Blanca. This is amazing. Voices of Change, seeing the reasons, seeing the community that you've already trying to build, seeing the values that are behind this type of community really resonates with me, and I'm very pleased and happy and honored to be with you to help try to kick off this community, to support each other as teachers, as educators, as institutional supporters, especially around thinking about our students and the future of technology. Mohammed, Robert, Laquak, Blanca, you guys are doing something amazing, very similar to what I've been doing in my own rights with Together Learning, starting, 15 years or so ago. My name's Eric, Looting Virtuist. I make online platforms. I'm a technologist by trade. And just this very same topic, I started a company during the pandemic, really. But before that, it was a kind of a nonprofit community, Together Learning. It's basically meaning in the age of technology, there's less of the sage on the stage and more supporter in the corner. And we are going to be learning together, even though there might be a teacher, a facilitator, and students, they're really all kind of blending together as one. My specialities range from emerging technologies like virtual and augmented reality, of course, more recently, artificial intelligence. And my work ranges from academic research to technology development to helping facilitate and deploy technologies either in higher academics institutions, K-12 school settings, and also helping groups like us, Voices of Change, get together and facilitate helping each other. And so that's why I'm very excited and very happy to be with you today for this very important thing that you guys are embarking on. Right. So thinking about all of this together, I'm going to be talking a little bit about a personal story, but to get us keep talking and to keep contributing, I'd like to put a question to you. We're thinking about trying to think about preparing new learners, school-age learners. That could be K-12, it could be college students, it could be even ourselves thinking about the near future. What, when you were growing up, or even when you were in school, that could be college just a few years ago, or it could be a long time ago, like me, in a classroom. What was one thing that you can kind of pinpoint in your mind that you wish you knew or was taught to you right when you started getting in a professional career or started getting deep into using technology in the classroom? What's one thing that you wish that was a skill, an idea, a concept that wish was somebody, either that could be an educator, a teacher, your parents, that instilled into you that would have, looking back, would have probably helped you prepare for what's happened today, right? So as I do that, I'm going to talk a little bit about what's happening and some of the stories around it. So this growth that we're seeing, this exponential curve, I don't know if you feel that you're on it. I feel like I'm on it all the time. Blanca just mentioned that, more of us are feeling like we're being left behind. It's harder to keep up. Yes, new research is coming out every other day. New models are coming out every other day. The growth, the potential, the abilities of technology is on this curve, and it's starting to feel like a lot of us like we're being left behind. And that's what really the core of hopefully my talk with us today, to help us kind of frame and give us a grounding of our conversations for the rest of our time here today. ChatGPT, for example, is the most quickly adopted technology in history by orders of magnitude. It's all over the place. My students at my own university, at Kyoto University of Foreign Studies, I do a consensus of all of the students in our university year after year. We went from 0 students using LLMs to 99% using it in just 3 years. This is unexpected. In my work in augmented reality, virtual reality, that growth has been 1 to 5% year over year for the past 10 to 15 years. And so this is just explosive. And what it has done to us is still really unknown, right? The behavioral changes we see in the way students study, the ways that academics approach research, the way that we think about what to do, what to spend our mental efforts on is really fundamentally changing. And it's changing us in ways that is really profound. And all of these behavioral changes are pushing us in lots of different ways. And that's one of the reasons why I think getting together to think about these things, to share stories, to share ideas is more important than ever. I started university in 1994. I'm dating myself a little bit here, but I remember thinking this is right around when the internet was just getting really cooking, really getting started. And I was a freshman. I was into computers, running a BBS, if you're familiar with that at the time, and I was just getting started in college. And before I entered college, my life was pretty much before internet. I had a BBS that could only talk to one other computer at a time, and it took maybe a week to send an email across the country at that time. And I saw a world before the internet and after the internet. And having seen both worlds, I feel like gave me a perspective, gave me a lens from which to see the world that really helped my vision or idea or acceptance of adopting these different technologies moving forward. And that's why I asked that question before earlier, right? If we could go back, it's just, knowing what the internet has done to help us, but also hurt us, what social media has done to connect us, but also divide us, what we might do differently with this knowledge. And now I'm looking at a group of students in my lectures here in Kyoto and also all over the world online, and I'm looking at them knowing they're going to have a similar journey to me in college when I was just getting started and seeing the world before an internet and after an internet, because this AI wave that's coming around will be just as, maybe even more profound, as that change, the way that we conduct ourselves, the way that we approach learning, the way that we communicate with each other, the way the economic models of the world work, all of these things will be touched in some way or another. It's hard to predict how still, but we know it's going to happen in one way or another. And so these questions that I asked you, a lot of you are thinking critical thinking, I see in the chat, thinking about forming community like we're doing now is all very, very important. And that's why I think today is also very important for us as well. Right, so we take all this and we see this exponential curve, I think, right? Hopefully, we see these technologies improving. We see the behavioral changes that they're nudging us in different ways. And there seems to be a loop happening. AI systems are made. They take behavioral surplus data from us using them. That behavioral surplus is used to retrain and improve the models. And then therefore they're improved and we want to keep up with productivity. We want to be on the edge. We're compelled in different ways to compete with others using these technologies. And so we're in this spiraling loop. And it can go kind of two ways in a lot of ways. It's not just for learning, not just for our own professional and personal development, but this loop that we're in could go in a virtuous cycle or a vicious cycle, depending on how we view it and the questions that we're able to prepare ourselves for around the corner. What I like to think about is a story. So think about my classroom. This is in a high school classroom situation here in Japan. We have two students. They're in a classroom. One of them is really good at technology, learns how to use the LLMs, knows how to use technology in a very efficient way to make him more productive. He feels like he's more creative using these tools. He can offload his thinking processes a lot onto them. But then there's another kind of student, also in the same classroom, that we cannot, doesn't really feel like the AI tools are doing her a service or a favor. And so this student, she feels like she wants to do things on her own accord. She feels like she's giving up something, or giving up, that might even be a pleasure of doing that thing before you actually get the answer, before you are able to create that thing, right? And both of these things are both correct and not correct at the same time. You can say that one student has one type of agency over the technology, and the other type of student has another type of agency over their own learning journey, about their understanding of their relationship to the learning process. And if both of these things are happening simultaneously in the classroom, it becomes very difficult to really design the learning around this. Somebody said my voice is loud. I tried to turn it up a little bit. Hopefully that's helpful to you. Right, so if both of these things are happening simultaneously in the classroom, how do you design the activities, the assessment, the processes for the learning that's happening in the classroom? Well, I've been thinking about this for a couple years now, wrote a book about it. That story started from that I just mentioned before earlier. I'm going to be posting stuff in the comments as well, so you can see all of these projects and work that I've been doing in this area. So I'm thinking about this, and I know all of you are too. It's something that is on the forefront, and we're almost, I don't know if you're like me, almost tired of talking about this at this point, because it's just changing so much and for so long, and it's been on the forefront of thinking about what's happening. So let's dig into this just a little bit deeper, right? So in the classroom, we have these two different students, these two types of agencies, right? We have instrumental agency, a student that we think about telling them how to use technology, giving them the skills to be able to write code, or to think about making their own AI models, or to be able to create 3D models or digital twins, or it could be something a little more simple like create websites or create a chatbot, or just be able to use the technology for their own projects, their own will, their own careers, their own measures, right? That's the instrumental agency. And a lot of us are thinking about this and have been thinking about this for decades, right? Because of STEM and STEAM and other initiatives that we have around getting more, for example, engineers in the workforce. But this other type of student has a different type of agency, and it's constitutive agency. This is an agency where you have this metacognition, this awareness of the learning process for yourself, right? You know that using AI perhaps make you more efficient, but the learning happens in the struggle, the pauses, the times where you have to sit back and struggle and ask some questions, or maybe just sit in boredom for a while and let this thing roll around in your brain subconsciously, which is a skill probably we had a little bit better pre-internet. But this type of agency, which is used a little bit less, especially in the context of educational technology, and we're starting to think about this more and more and more moving towards the future, right? Thinking about, as we hear the word critical thinking a lot, we saw it in the chat a little bit, but not only thinking about critically, being able to criticize, for example, AI's output, being able to understand how to ask questions, but more importantly, understand what you are doing for your own growth, your own struggles, your own personal improvement by leveraging these technologies in different ways. Understanding that you have a way to use technology to help you, but sometimes that might be a crutch. If you're older like me, perhaps you know the movie The Karate Kid. Has anybody seen this movie? Besto Kiddo, here in Japan we call it. There's that famous scene in this movie where Miyagi-sensei, he's a karate teacher, is teaching this young boy karate, but for the first couple of weeks, he's telling his student to wax floors, to paint fences, to wax cars, and to do it in a specific motion. And he really doesn't have any idea why he's doing these chores. He thinks he's basically doing free labor for the teacher, and he gets really upset about it until he gets confronted by the teacher, and he realizes he's been building muscle memory for defensive karate moves the entire time by painting the fence and waxing the floors. That is very similar to a lot of rote learning that we sometimes like in certain situations in learning, and sometimes we are able to easily automate, especially with online, especially on-demand type learning sources. And so when can we be sure that the student doesn't know that they're grinding because they're building this foundational muscle? Could be a thinking muscle, could be a physical muscle, and when they could just easily offload that to something like an LLM, or now moving forward an agent that can be logging in and doing things even more autonomously on a student or teacher's behalf. So my answer to this for the longest time has been to treat these differently. And so about 10 years ago, I was allowed to change the curriculum at our university. I've been teaching these subjects for a long time here in Japan, but now these courses are separated. These types of agencies are separated and taught in a slightly different format. And it's a required course for all of our students here at Kyoto University of Foreign Studies. And I've started to teach this course at other universities in Japan and other places around the world. For example, in Italy, there's another school here in Japan called Doshisha. We're teaching this course. Last year, it was in UPOU in the Philippines. And this is one of the things that I hope I can inspire us to dig into. And it's something that I hope maybe through Voices of Change and other places we can really start to dig into this idea of these two types of agencies and give more of it to all of our students around the world, because this is a collective issue, I think. It can't just happen in one place. It's really helpful together learning through this idea. So the first semester in our, for example, our students, we do digital literacy. Here in Japan, we have a wide gap, a wide range of students that are coming into university, and their skills, their background in PC skills, in technology skills. And so we do some basic things right up front, like ergonomics, touch typing, understanding the basic processes of computation and data and how it works. Then we go into things like understanding the internet, doing Google search, understanding what it means to search the internet and different ways to do it, what it means to search Google's index versus searching the internet, and how to find specific things. And then we start to get into things like how information is brought to us, and try to get through all that and get to the information that we want. And so starting about 4 years ago, the last couple of weeks of this class have been about AI, about how it's created, and different stories around it. But the next semester, which I really had to fight for, and I would really enjoyed if some more institutions around the world might help join to this initiative, is the digital citizenship portion of it. And this is what I come back to from the first question, right? This is where if we had some foundational skills, some knowledge, something that was happening through the internet era, before and after the internet, understanding the changes that happened, and kind of relate that to this current set of changes and disruptions that's happening because of AI, might be this the type of information, knowledge, skill that would really help our students and each other navigate this disruption a little bit better. So in digital citizenship, we're not really teaching AI literacy, teaching AI competency, meaning what is your relationship to the technology? What is the technology happening, forcing us, nudging us to do, changing our behaviors, and really the tension between technology and its dissemination through our society and humanity and our reliance and need to be human. Just like Blanca said at the top, right? She feels like she's being left behind a little bit. And as more humans feel like they're being left behind a little bit, they're going to have to come back to what is them. What is human? What does it mean to be slightly more separated from the technology, to have agency over the technology, to understand your relationship to the technology? And so in this course, we talk about everything like digital law, digital health, and both mental and physical health as it relates to the use of technology, the reliance that's coming up more, we're seeing with especially younger children, of using AI chatbots for friendship, for companionship, for social advice, and what that does to our human relationships moving forward. Also thinking about things like how these technologies are changing the economy, forcing us to work and search for work and think about our careers in different ways, our relationships in different ways. All these tech topics that are kind of touched through one by one, I put them in different contexts throughout the course. I believe this is the one course that I'm most passionate about. I believe these types of ideas, these things are probably going to be core for the next generation of understanding and being able to navigate all these disruptions that are happening to all the great kind of things that are happening because of AI in our societies and cultures. All of us that are here today from all these different countries. And I think what's really been satisfying in teaching this, especially to our students here at the University of Kyoto, we have students from all over the world, some of which are represented here, is all of these countries have different perspectives and ideas, different laws from which to approach using these, integrating them into schools, regulating them with their governments, being able to harness them for economic prosperity for more people. And if we have more people from other places in the world learning this subject together, I think that is one subject that we can really benefit from learning in a large cohort together. And that's one of the reasons that I hope to try to inspire us to think about maybe doing this more together moving forward into the future. Right. Hopefully I haven't been talking too much. I want to share with you some initiatives and things like that moving forward. But for the last thing that I want you to think about. So now that I've tried to make my case, I've tried to extol my passion for this idea of digital citizenship, teaching your relationship with technology, which is not the same as teaching students to use technology. Are you doing this in your schools? Are you thinking about doing this in your schools? And if so, what are the barriers or the constraints or the challenges that you think you might have in trying to leverage classrooms, institutions, maybe some rules for your students or even your children, in trying to get them that second type of agency, that constitutive agency, so they can better understand what technology is doing to them and their relationship with technology as far as their behaviors, nudging the way that they communicate with each other, the way that humans think about acquiring knowledge, the way they think about struggle, like Miyagi-sensei and Daniel-san. All of those things we touch about in this course. So I'd love to hear your particular ideas about this particular question as I start to finish up my opening talk here. As we look at some of these, what you're talking about, I'm going to take this opportunity to give us a few options, a few things that both we are doing here in Japan, but also around the world, in ways that we might be able to communicate a little bit better. Here are some links and ideas and programs. One of us are a lab here in Kyoto. We're going to have some events here in the next year and a half. First one's going to be at beginning of November. We're going to be inviting people from all over the world to come and think about technology in education. But this theme of digital citizenship is really at the core of these events that we're doing over the next year. So one of them is Future Hub. I'm going to bring up the screen here. Let's see if I can find it. Yes. I put some links up for my own, all the things that I've talked about today. You can find them here at togetherlearning.com and erichawkinson.com. There's a bunch of tools here, free to use for you, 50 games and other utilities for teachers. There's a whole platform here for publishing and seeing research, mostly on augmented and virtual reality. Augmented reality for learning platforms. I've been doing that for about 10, 15 years. Virtual reality for virtual exchange. AI for assisted assessment and platform building. And our World Learning Labs and Future Hub here in Kyoto. First one's in November. Next one is next March. We're inviting people to come to Kyoto and share their thoughts and ideas around these subjects that I just tried to extol on you today in our talks. I also have a couple of things out, and I donated some courses and perhaps some books for our raffle that happens later. So if you're interested in these things and you don't quite win the raffle, you can reach out to me and maybe I can get you some of these materials and perhaps a copy of our book moving forward. So as I start to get close to my time, I believe, I'm going to see if there's anything that I want to comment from you in the chat. But as I look this up, I want to say I feel very grateful and honored to be with you today. I hope I've tried to set us a nice tone moving forward, working together with your voices of change to support each other as educators as we travel through this disruption and try to make the world a little better of a place through education. All right, let's see what we got here in the chat.
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you, Eric. And yes, we do have many questions. It's a pleasure that you are part of this situation today of the global lunch. And yeah, we do have time, as I mentioned, for questions. I will start with one that is absolutely close to my heart because I'm crazy about critical thinking and ways of implementing it. So, the first question is, what are some strategies that help students to think deeply about issues in the era of AI? What's your take on that?
Well, I think critically, there's always been, well, thinking about this, in my mind, there's been a catch-22 when it comes to being able to teach and think about critical skills, especially when you're overutilizing things like a chatbot or LLM or even now agents, right? Because you need some foundational knowledge, foundational skills, some experience to be able to kind of think about what's being given to you, the information, the data, how it's being presented to you, and be able to criticize it, to be able to have some notion in your mind, some feeling, some gut feeling even, that something is a little bit off, or have the experience to say, well, this is right, but this could be better. And so you're thinking about critical thinking, you have to be able to maybe think about going back a little bit and then going forward a little bit, maybe failing a little bit first, perhaps, thinking about scaffolding, and then when you're using the AI, thinking about again and again and again, it becomes more of a process. In my book, I write a lot about the assessment process becoming a lot more of a journey than an end product, right? You're not trying to get to make a specific thing. You're trying to understand where you started, the journey you're taking, and then how you've gone, and then be able to look back and say, I've come this far, not I've made this thing, or written this passage, or created this project. Being able to under that gives you a little bit more of that agency I was talking a little about earlier, and also giving the metacognition to understand your relationship as you're going through the learning with AI. How that relates to your view of what critical thinking is, I'm not quite sure. So maybe if I answered your question, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, thank you. I am also wondering because recently there is an interesting study and research done by Tina Austin about unblooming. It's called Unbloom. So she supports the statement that in the era of AI, we should start grading the thinking itself, not the product, because right now we are living in times where AI can do a lot of creative tasks for our students, and that started that brought me to the question, are you for and saying that we are in the times that we need certain protocols or templates, ready to use ideas that are implemented in the curriculum and teachers development so they know how to work with students, what they should focus on in terms of grading, thinking, and assessing what you just said?
Yes. Well, I'm on the AI task force for a university, and I've done some consulting in other universities. And there's a lot of different approaches that I've seen to this particular thing. But what I've been recommending is trying not to have a one size fits all approach. What we did originally at our university, for example, when uh, ChatGPT hit, what is this, 3, 4 years ago now, we tried to make a policy, but quickly understood that different teachers, for example, our language learning teachers, wanted to approach the assessment and use of AI in their classrooms a lot different than our more STEM-related course teachers, like, for example, web designers or game design classrooms, things like that. And so we basically came down on, well, the teachers are now able to determine the policies, the use, the assessment procedures for their classrooms. And this led to a whole wide range of good and both bad things, because not all teachers are thinking deeply about the nerdiness of assessment and how it relates to their classrooms. Not all teachers are able to dig into this. Some are close to retirement and having their heads in the sand, but also it made a lot of disparities between classrooms. And the big thing here is, no, policies are great, but they're also very, very difficult to enforce. You just mentioned thinking about assessing thinking, which becomes very difficult and more time consuming, because not only as a teacher we grade the end product, but now we have to understand their journey. So we have to know the students even more, spend more time with them, understand what they're going through. And so I've argued in a lot of cases, especially with teachers working with large amounts of students, AI is going to not make things more efficient for teachers, but actually give them a very harder and more uh, bigger workload for them in the long run. And so now we have a piecemeal thing. We've come up with 6 different policies, and now teachers can choose between those 6 like a menu. And so things are a little more are structured for each teacher, and they know students know where to piecemeal for it. And also, looking back as a helicopter, we can see how many of each policy has been implemented in different classrooms. And because now we want to trying to work on that view, because we want some classrooms where students are able to use the AI full tilt, and we want some classrooms where we want the students to put their phones away and have that time with each other, in front of each other, those open spaces, those quiet times of contemplation. And that balance is now the struggle that we're trying to work through with the curriculum. And so this has been an evolving process, but it's something that I really try to push on to the schools I talk to, because a lot of times when we face disruption, we think about one solution to that thing and start to implement it in all the classrooms, like flipped learning, like 10 years ago, right? That was a big thing. But that if all classrooms are flipped learning, and that is a lot of burden on a student to watch lectures and be prepared in the classroom. And so if all of the classrooms are doing the same thing, the same approach, that becomes an issue. And so that becomes a little bit tricky, I think, moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you so much. You used the keyword balance, which reminded me of a great book by a neuroscientist, Dr. Jared Horvath, that covers the area of digital delusion. And it's not the call to be against AI, but simply try to reclaim learning at first glance. And we do know by observing many communities and taking a holistic look on education that still in some regions, the ongoing struggle is lack of resources, access to AI, the internet and technology. Contrary, some parts of the world are overloaded by it. And this one brings another question from our participants. How can schools move students from simply using technology to engaging with it ethically and responsibly?
Oh, that's tough.
As I promised at the beginning, we welcome tough questions.
Yeah. Well, in digital citizenship, we talk a lot about what happens when we use technology in different ways. So we think about, the ecological, environmental impacts of using technology a certain way. We think about what happens to you and your personal growth psychologically when you use these technologies in certain ways. And it really comes down to incentive structures in a lot of ways, because if you are telling your students you need to wax the floor and paint the fence, but you're grading them on how beautiful the fence is, that really doesn't incentivize them to move forward with the background and fundamental ethics that you want them to move forward with. And so I don't really have a clear answer for this either, because it's hard to come up with an assessment structure that really incentivizes the underlying motivations that the students go through when they want to have be that student that I saw before, the girl student that wants to engage with it, to struggle with it, because that means that their end product might be not as good, because they're taking the learning. Like students in my classroom, they start touch typing the correct way when they've been pecking for years and years, and now I'm trying to get them to, and they get slower for a while. And so that's a process that you have to understand that they're going to be bad. So what do you do when the outcomes or the products that they're making for a while are struggling? You have to be able to incentivize the process, the journey, that they're going to get growth, they're going to get long-term benefits from using it in the correct way. Don't really have a clear way to motivate that.
However, we deeply believe that even we do not have a clear answers. That's why the VOC started, just at least start gathering and brainstorming, and let's see where we are going to end up with this. And I think we are also, because you mentioned a few times about assessment, which is changing. It's constantly changing, not only because of the curriculum and the educational institution itself, but also because of the technology. So when it comes to piece of advice, which one and what type would you give for educators to make sure that once they are using the technology and AI, they don't do it only for being innovative and for the process of creativity, but they are using it in the way that is deeply grounded in pedagogical framework and the one that aligns with course objectives, with the curriculum and learning outcomes. So we don't mismatch.
We never want, I mean, even though I love technology, I never want to recommend using technology for technology's sake. Unless you're, there are some cases that you want to experiment with it and use it with your students to see how it works out. And a lot of the projects that I've showed you today, for example, the My Hometown project is using virtual reality. I never expected that to be an empathy building machine between cultures as it has. And that needed some experimentation for just using the technology for technology's sake at some point. But virtual reality and augmented reality have really helped my view on this, because a lot of teachers that come to me and want to implement it in their classroom often describe their vision of implementing virtual reality as just recreating what they already do, but in a digital context. And so if the technology doesn't seem to offer any extra value or any extra affordances, then it becomes very difficult to argue for the use case. That's harder to do with AI, though, because it really touches every part of the learning pipeline, from ideation to background research to editing to thinking about every step of the learning process. AI can be put in there in some fashion. And so maybe you need to have something in the process where you put on the brakes and turn off the AI for a certain amount of time. In virtual and augmented reality, we have a very specific framework that we use for understanding when it's best to use these technologies, and it's called the DICE framework. So basically thinking if something's too dangerous or too expensive or too counterproductive or possibly brings students outside of the situation where they need to be, then we really want to push on these technologies, because now you're doing something that you couldn't normally do in a real live, perhaps face-to-face context, because now you're doing something that might be almost impossible to do without the technology. So you're pushing forward, you're doing things, for example, in my web design classes, we learn a little bit of coding up front, because then you can use that knowledge of coding to then really supercharge your website designs later on, because you're able to tell the AI what libraries to use, what kind of structures to use in your CSS or HTML, whatever that might be that you're putting in there. And therefore, you're able to drive the car, to say better, to when you're using AI and not having it, dictate where you're going with the use of it. Hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah, so saving agency, and you are telling us to think critically about outsourcing, the way we outsource certain skills and tasks.
Cognitive offloading is the term we're hearing a lot in the academic research.
Yeah. When it comes to not only cognition, today we cannot have any capacity for all the questions. That's why, dear participants, feel free to let us know on our social media channels and contact Dr. Eric to get even more answers. But the last thing I must ask, because this is also one of pillars behind VOC as the community, which is well-being and helping each other to thrive and help each other in terms of energy saving very often and not feeling alone. So I guess that there are few answers for that in terms of the source of tiredness after using technology. How can we overcome the problem? And what would be maybe the biggest reason that teachers feel so tired after using technology and AI?
Well, it takes extra work most of the time, doesn't it? Especially in my experience of using augmented virtual reality. We often call this the the Mrs. Applebaum problem. Mrs. Applebaum is supposed to be a kind of a placeholder for your older, well-established teacher, classroom teacher in K-12 that is very experienced, very well at worked out her own routine, and now is asked to learn a new technology to be able to implement this technology, which requires a lot of nuance and understanding of it. And so you're working above and beyond what you're doing. You're also seeing how it's working with your students. The AI curve that we talked about earlier is changing so fast. Every new model comes out, they have different affordances, different things they can do. If you're developing stuff like I am, the underlying technologies are changing so fast where before, when you were developing an app or something, it might be able to last a couple of years, and now you're lucky if you're using one of the large language API models that it lasts maybe 3 to 5 months before you have to go back in and remake everything. So you're really asking a little bit more to keep up with this technology, to do it a different way. And so start small. Don't feel like you have to do everything all at once. Find something that you enjoy, tinker a little bit. I enjoy doing that a little bit, and tinker with your students, right? If you come to your classroom saying, I don't quite know where this thing is, but I think we can use it in classrooms and have them part of the process, you might have a few students that are really going to get into that and start to go that self-motivation journey process that we talked about earlier before too. I've done that before in my classrooms. I just had a group of students recreate our campus in Minecraft, and it was very fascinating to watch them work, because I played Minecraft with my daughter, but after watching these guys program in Minecraft, I was really amazed by what they can do and what now is possible in using Minecraft in my classrooms.
Thank you so much. Start small, step by step. I like it. It reminds us that even though we are surrounded by this technology boom that is predicted to be even bigger and bigger, we still can help us ground it. And that's why the communities are for. So thank you, Dr. Eric, for reminding us that the future of learning is not only about these new tools, but it's also about reconsidering, relooping, reflecting, connecting. And it's also about guidance, proper judgment, which can change. And it's also about the responsibility that we help learners build around those tools so we don't leave them behind. So your message connects strongly with the purpose of VOC. And if the next generation needs better preparation for the AI age, I do hope that educators also need communities where they can learn together, question together, and find practical ways forward. So thank you so much, Dr. Eric, for being with us.
If you're feeling like you're behind, know that coming through the next internet era, that we had the digital divide, right? You had the technology or you didn't have it. The next one is going to be slightly different, I think. We're going to be able to have human connection, or you're going to be using AI too much. And so you might be at an advantage by being slightly apprehensive or behind, looking for that human touch in your classrooms. And so I applaud you. Just keep understanding that you're valuable. You're making an impact just by wanting to improve yourself on these things. And thank you very much for having me, Voices of Change. And I really appreciate being with you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Eric. And we do hope to see you more often. And on behalf of all participants, I just wanted to say, amazing presentation. We would love to hear more from you, how you created such an interactive presentation. So maybe that's another idea for our future meeting. So thank you so much, and for sharing all your insights and experiences in terms of the community and technology. Thank you.
Thank you, Blanca. Thank you, Mohammed. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Lei Kwok. And thank you to all the Voices of Change that came today. I applaud and support you on your journey moving forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And now, dear participants, I just wanted to tell you that I hope that you start to feel this, that VOC is not only for individual educators, it's also for schools, organizations, and education companies that want to contribute their strengths to better education. We warmly welcome organizations that share this vision to join the VOC family. And now, moving to another part of our global launch today, it is my honor to introduce one of the first organization members of VOC, for English sake. And this short showcase gives us another example of how educator communities can create space for learning, sharing, professional connection, and this feeling of belonging. There is a moment, quiet and almost invisible, when something changes inside a learner. It is not the moment they memorize a word, nor the moment they pass a test. It is the moment they find their voice. At For English Sake, we believe that learning a language is one of the most profound journeys a human being can take. Not because of grammar rules or vocabulary lists, but because language is how we think, how we connect, how we lead, how we grow. We are a professional development lab rooted in the science of learning, inspired by educational psychology, applied and social linguistics, mindfulness, and the philosophy of human potential. We work with teachers who want to teach with more depth, with professionals who want to communicate with more clarity, with leaders who want to speak with more presence, with curious minds who simply want to learn, but better. Our approach is not one size fits all. Every learner is unique and carries a story. Every goal is personal. Every session is tailored to your pace, purpose, and your voice. We bring together coaching and mentorship, critical thinking and mindfulness, public speaking, and the science of how the brain works, creating an experience that goes far beyond the classroom, because real learning is not about absorbing information, it is about transformation. It is about the student who walks into a presentation with confidence, the teacher who rediscovers their passion for the craft, the professional who finally feels heard in the room. This is what we build together: curiosity, clarity, confidence, connection. For English sake, because the art of teaching is the art of assisting discovery. Transformation and connection, one of components of the community. And now, please welcome to the stage Voices of Change co-founder, Dr. Robert Strout.
Hi guys, Robert here. Hope you're having a good day. Give me just 1 second of your day to talk about something really important. This little thing here. I haven't gone crazy, don't worry. This little thing here is you and me. This is a teacher getting ready for the next day. And what do we all do? A lot of things. We might be planning out our classes, planning out all the things we're going to do for our students. We might start thinking about, how am I going to publish some of my ideas? Where can I put them? How do I do it? You might start thinking about conferences. Who can I talk to? Where can I go with all this? And we might even start thinking about our networks. How can I connect with people? How can I get my voice heard? And this is the stuff we all face, me too. But eventually, if you keep carrying that load all by yourself, what's going to happen? It's all going to come crashing down. It's happened to me before. I hope it doesn't happen to you. So this led me and a few people I've been working with to really sit down and brainstorm things, because we don't believe things like that should happen to teachers. So I've been brainstorming things with Mohammed Nabil, Lequoc, and Blanca Paulak as a team to come up with something special, something new. We think the network should already be there for you. We think those opportunities to publish shouldn't be so difficult. We think you should be able to present and get supported to do it, so it's not so scary. And it shouldn't be so hard to find people. It shouldn't be so hard to network and connect with people in today's world. So how about we just put you on top of that? Which life would you prefer? I think this one's a lot better for me personally. So that's why we came up with Voices of Change, VOC. It's a community of communities here to support teachers just like you. And we really hope you can join us, rise together, change together, VOC. Join today. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming today. It's absolutely wonderful to see so many educators from all over the world gathered here today. So, as we continue, I would actually like to introduce two more organization members of the VOC family. The first is the University Grapevine, known as TUG, and the other one is Culture Club. Now, community becomes powerful when it gives people a reason to participate, not just observe. So Tug and Culture Club show this spirit beautifully. They create spaces where educators and learners can exchange ideas, their cultures, practices, and their stories. So as you watch these short showcases, I ask you to think about just one question. What kind of community helps you become a better educator? Well, I hope you enjoyed both of those showcases. They both speak very close to my heart about community and what it should really mean to all of us. And one of the main ways VOC supports educators is through professional development. We want to create learning spaces that are practical, accessible, and connected to real educational work. From free events and webinars to short courses, learning opportunities, and professional sharing. So for us, professional development should not feel distant, expensive, or difficult to access. It should help educators keep learning, stay connected, build confidence, and bring useful ideas back to their own classrooms, teams, and communities. So this brings us to VOC. VOC is not only inviting educators to join a community, we are also asking a deeper practical question. What support do educators need to keep growing and moving forward? And VOC will not make all these things alone. We need you. And I am talking to you, the people here today. If you want to make a course for VOC, to speak at one of our webinars or events, you are all invited. This is VOC made by educators for educators. And now we have something very special for you. Before today's event, we actually invited educators to share short reflections and what community means to them. So today we are happy to showcase 4 one-minute videos from our community video contest finalists. Each voice is different. Each story is personal, but together they remind us why community really matters and why VOC was created. So, as you watch these videos, I invite you to listen for one thing. What kind of support helps educators grow beyond the classroom?
Hello and welcome. All through my career as a teacher and a teacher trainer, working in varied locations with so many types of students, I think that different communities adds a lot to me. So I will definitely or particularly speak about one community which added a lot to me. It's Madrasatna 3, an educational channel on the Egyptian television. And I think that this community in particular added a lot to me because it helped me weigh the importance and the significance of words. And it made me understand or fathom, let's say, that selecting words is as important as that of ideas. So working with the channel made me gain the perspective of using the least time possible in order to give the best or the strongest effect ever. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I am Salman and I am from India. So today I would be talking about a community which has helped me grow. The AIDT SIG TESOL conferences community has played a significant role in my professional growth. Through its webinars and collaborative initiatives, I learned how to build my own website and had the opportunity to share my voice through the community newsletter. More importantly, the community has connected me with inspiring educators, encouraged innovation in my teaching, and reminded me that we grow stronger when we learn and support one another. So I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to AIDT SIG TESOL conferences, to Yusra Ferishi Madam for the heartfelt support and the constant amount of guidance she had supported me, and the Voices of Change for the wonderful initiative where we can share our ideas. Thank you so much.
Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Lorna Biduya from the University of Technology and Applied Sciences in Salalah. For me, community has had a profound impact on my life in many meaningful ways. Professionally, my colleagues have inspired me through continuous professional development where we learn, we collaborate, and grow together as educators. As a course level coordinator in the General Foundation program, my students have become an important part of my community. Their enthusiasm, resilience, and achievements motivate me to become a better teacher and a leader every day. Beyond my workplace, I remain deeply connected with my teacher friends in the Philippines, as well as my college and high school classmates. Despite the distance, and we continue together to encourage and support one another through every stages of our lives. Finally, my neighborhood reminds me of the importance of kindness, respect, and looking out for one another, whether in the Philippines, in Salalah, or even in Japan. These communities have shaped my values, strengthened my sense of purpose, and remind me that together we can achieve far more than we could ever done alone. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, I'm Emel. As an English educator in Tunisia, I've often attended training that felt, well, a bit idealistic. I'd leave wondering, this sounds great, but can I actually do this in my classroom? That's exactly why I love my teacher community. It's not just about sharing fancy resources, it's about sharing the reality. When I have those moments of doubt, when a new lesson feels like it's failing, I turn to my peers. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We share what actually worked, what failed, and how to adapt it to our specific context. Community turns idealistic theory into practical reality. It's the difference between feeling like you are carrying a burden alone and realizing that when we share, we aren't creating from scratch. We're building on each other's success. Together, we are stronger. And yes, together, we definitely go further.
Thank you so much to all of our 4 wonderful finalists in this competition. Just listening to them, I'm sure everybody here feels the same as I do, which is that we're not alone. And maybe some of the things you've worried about, maybe a lot of people are worrying about, and maybe some of the inspiring stories you just heard are similar to yours as well. So we actually have one of our finalists here, Emile, who was just speaking, and she's joining us now live from Tunisia, I believe. So, Emile, if you would like to just turn on your camera and microphone, if possible, and say hello to everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Emile, how are you?
Hello, I'm fine. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Great. And we'd just like to hear a bit more about your story about communities, please.
Of course, I just want to thank you for this wonderful opportunity. Winning the VOC contest means a lot to me, actually, but what I value most is becoming part of a global community of educators who inspire one another. And Actually, everything changed 1 year ago when I attended Edu 361 Expo as a host. I discovered that when educators connect, ideas actually don't stay in the room, they travel. And I took that inspiration back to my hometown here in Nebel, where I started organizing workshops and creating learning opportunities for fellow teachers. And that experience taught me that community isn't just about belonging. It's about turning inspiration into action and multiplying impact. As I continue building, actually, and creating and collaborating with educators around the world, I hope to inspire others just as this community has inspired me. And I'm really excited for the collaborations, projects, and learnings opportunities that this journey will bring. And thank you again for this great opportunity.
Thank you so much, Emile. And I really love your message that we should all be very practical and really moving forward and taking action with the things that we're learning from our communities in our classrooms. I couldn't agree more. So congratulations again. And actually, I have a special announcement. Our 4 finalists at VOC, we were just so impressed with all of them that we decided they were all winners. So I'm happy to announce that all 4 Community Voice Contest finalists will receive a prize from Eduling. And each finalist will receive 3 months of Eduling Premium Access, which is a fantastic prize. Eduling, if you're not familiar with it, is an AI-powered learning platform and chatbot that supports learners and educators through personalized practice, intelligent feedback, teacher development courses as well, and a growing library of learning resources. And it gets better and better each time you look at it. So congratulations to all 4 of you. And thank you for helping to show the heart of VOC, why we're here. Many voices, shared growth, and practical support for educators. So all 4 of you will be receiving an email soon with information of how to redeem your prizes after this event. Thank you so much. And I would like to now move us on to the next section of this special event. We're going to move into the panel discussion. And the title of the panel is Becoming Our Best Through Community, a fantastic focus. So at the heart of this conversation is a simple belief. Educators do not grow best in isolation. We grow when we listen to one another, when we learn across contexts, and when we share both our successes and our questions, and also when we find the courage to keep becoming better together. So this panel brings together educators from different places, experiences, and professional journeys. Together, we will explore how community helps us stay inspired, share responsibility, strengthen our practice, and grow beyond what we could do alone. So please share in a warm welcome from me for our three panelists, who I will now introduce one by one. I believe everybody is here. So the first one is Mary Scholl, and Mary is founder and director of the Institute for Collaborative Learning in Costa Rica. With more than 30 years of experience in teacher education, curriculum design, and educational consulting, she has worked with educators throughout Latin America and internationally. She is a frequent conference presenter and US Department of State English language specialist. And Mary is passionate about the power of community to foster professional growth, well-being, and meaningful learning. So we are very honored for Mary to be joining us here today. Thank you so much, Mary, for coming. I'll move on to introduce our next panelist, which is Professor Brent Warner. Brent is an award-winning professor at Irvine Valley College, where he focuses on integrating technology into the language learning process. He works with teachers and organizations across the globe to provide practical advice for helping English language learners take advantage of tech to help them communicate more clearly. He blogs for TESOL International about technology integration in the ESOL classroom, and he is also the co-host of the fantastic DESOL podcast, which addresses innovation in ESOL. So we are also very honored to have Professor Brent Warner here with us today. And last but certainly not least, I'm going to move on to our final panelist, who is Dr. Maria Guajardo. Maria is CEO of MG Leadership Design, a leadership consultancy for transformative change, cultivating global leaders. She teaches at the University of Colorado, and she is an award-winning professional who was also the vice president at Soka University right here in Japan, where I am. Her scholarship connects leadership and cultural worldviews. And she has recently published two fantastic books, Global Leadership for Equity and Inclusion in Education in 2025, and also Global Public Leadership for an Inclusive and Innovative Future in 2026. So as you can see, we have a jam-packed, amazing panel here with us today. I would like to begin the panel session now with a very simple question, actually. One that goes right to the heart of why we're here today and today's discussion. This panel is called Becoming Our Best Through Community, but that can mean a lot of different things to different people. So I'd like to start with Maria, actually, first, if that's okay. Maria, could I ask you, what does becoming our best through community mean to you personally?
Thank you so much, Robert. And I am very pleased to be here and loved the keynote that just preceded us. So very excited to be able to share my thoughts. So what does becoming our best in community mean to me? Let me frame this by sharing that my job as an educator and as a learner, my job is to raise that next generation of global leaders. And to me, in order to do that, in order to bring out my best and our best, I have to focus on what is the purpose? Why engage in community? What is fundamentally basic there? And for me, the answer to that question is to become a better human being, to become my best self. And I can only do that in relationship with others. I have three foundational elements when I speak of leadership, and I believe that these three elements are absolutely central to being in community and to connecting to the principles of Voices of Change. And that first one is that leadership is relational. I can't just go out in the hallway and proclaim myself a leader if no one is behind me, right? Leadership happens in relationship with others. Community happens in relationship with others. And that to me is the beginning premise here. Second, leadership is personal. And being in community is personal. Leadership is personal because I have to bring myself into that dyad, into that group, into that classroom, into that community. And so I have to be present. My presence has to be maybe not only felt, but also seen. And then third, it's about practice. Leadership is not just a position, but it's an everyday practice. Being in community, as Amel had just mentioned, means taking action and going out. And I agree. It's about being not only present, but consciously, intentionally, every day saying, asking the question, how can I be my best in this community? How can I show up as my best self? So it's more complicated, I think, than just the simple statement, but complexity in a very meaningful way.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I just love how much of your answer is covering how we're humans and how we connect. And I think we forget that a lot, don't we? I think as teachers or leaders or even as students, we forget that us being there really matters, doesn't it? Thanks, Maria. That's a fantastic start. I'd like to pass it over to Mary, actually. Mary, so the same question, what does becoming our best through community mean to you yourself?
Thank you so much, Robert, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'm so excited about this community. And Maria, I can agree with you more that it is all about leadership for sure, and being in community, being personal, and practicing it regularly. When I think about all of us becoming our best through community, I think one of the things that really strikes me is that we can't become our best alone. Right? It's not something I can do alone. Even if I want to do it alone, even if I think, oh, of course I can do. No, I mean, being in community helps me make sense of my experience. People ask me questions I wouldn't have thought of before, or they offer a different perspective, or they challenge my assumptions, or they celebrate my growth. Like, celebration in community is one of the most important fuels, I think, for us as teachers. I think a lot about, another big fuel for us as teachers is reflection. And I think it's pretty common now that we say, yes, reflection is important. And if you look at John Dewey's 4 criteria for what makes reflection, so it's not just looking in a mirror and saying, oh, I'm going to reflect on this class today and it felt good or felt bad. No, it's a sense-making process, or a meaning-making process. It's systematic and disciplined. It requires certain attitudes that values everybody learning, and it happens in community. He was very clear 100 years ago that we have to do this in community because people help us make sense of what our experiences, what happened in our experiences. And I've worked with educators from so many countries. I feel so blessed. And one of the things that I am continually in awe of is how transformation rarely comes from me talking to somebody like I'm doing right now. Transformation comes from conversations with people, being vulnerable with somebody else, sharing your reflection, giving feedback, trying out something new and coming back to it. And so that is why I'm so passionate about learning in community. And I'm so excited about this community, because by starting from community as being the most important foundation of who we are, we're saying something really powerful about the fact that we belong. We all belong to each other and we all need each other. So we can bring out each other's best in community. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I love your answer too. And it feels to me, a lot of what you're talking about is like we just need to witness each other. We need to just be there and witness that what we're saying is having an impact, and the other people witnessing it makes us feel inspired as well. And yeah, I couldn't agree more. And after the pandemic and everything that's happened, what a beautiful time we're in right now where we can come together. Thanks, Mary. That's wonderful. And Brent, we haven't forgotten about you. We're looking forward to hearing from you as well. So same question for you. What does community mean to you personally?
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. And I think some of these answers might overlap a little bit here, but there's so many great ideas and so many ways to talk about this. One of the things that's being mentioned here is this idea that kind of, we're working with the other people. And for me, we talk about this idea as teachers when we say that, learning and improving is a social process, right? Like this is a well documented thing, is things we talk to our students about all the time, right? And so finding communities is what gets you there. As teachers, a lot of times we're no longer in the classroom, so our communities are our classrooms. As we're sorry, when I say we're no longer students in classrooms often, and so finding these communities, finding these groups is kind of what helps us get there. I think a lot, people used to actually get kind of angry with me when I said that I learned more in the early days of Twitter than I did in my master's program, because I had such a great community of people, teachers out there sharing their own ideas, getting information, all these kinds of things. And so it's really powerful when you're able to find your group and learn together with them. And then that group also, you want to make sure that you're working to keep that group open as well. And so I'm just going to add this one other part, that it's easy to kind of get little caught in cliques in some of these communities. And so I always kind of go back to my friend Ed Campos. He used to do these when we would do in-person conferences. Which we still do in person conferences, but he would always make sure to have like Pac-Man circles. So when people are talking in circles in the hallways, he would say, no matter what you are, keep an eye on the crowd and make sure that there's a gap so somebody else who wants to come in can jump in and join that conversation. And then if another person, if that someone fills that, then you step aside again and make sure that there's always a spot. And so that is the community, right? That's what helps us become best, right? Is working together, and not only just kind of for ourselves, but for each other, to really make sure that we're all feeling connected and supported as we're going through our changes, as we're trying to become better teachers as well.
Yeah, that's great. And I love how you're talking about, there's different types of community as well and different ways to connect. And, you joked about people, giving you a hard time about Twitter and things like that. But I think we're in a world where connecting online is a very good thing now. Like you said, though, it has to be done in the right way. And you don't want to get caught in small bubbles that you maybe, get dragged into. But yeah, fantastic. And I think all three panelists have a really good overview and similarities in a lot of ways of what they think are the important aspects of being a part of something like a community. So it actually leads me really nicely into the next question that I have for you all. And that, teaching is often described as a very collaborative profession. We work together as teachers. It's a group thing, right? But many educators feel incredibly isolated. And we've definitely gone through these stages. Maybe some people are still in it. So I'll actually like to carry on with Brent, actually. This would tie on very nicely to what you were just talking about. So why do you think that so many teachers try to do everything alone by themselves?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this, and I I don't know that teachers want to do things alone, but they do often try to do things alone, right? And so, and I think with a lot with the development, I kind of think often to my early days as a teacher, or not having found parts of my community yet. It's that there's often like this self-imposed sense that maybe they're alone because they think their field is somehow unique, right? I know that for me, as an English language teacher, a lot of times when I talk to other English language teachers, they're like, "Oh, it's not like math. They're doing something different, and then and history, and they're doing something different." I was like, we're all doing the same thing, you guys. Once we recognize that we are all doing the same thing, we're just filling the content with different ways. That's when we start going, oh, okay, hold on a second, right? Now I really can build a much broader understanding of what's going on. And so I often get people like, oh, where do you come up with ideas? And it's because I hang out with different kinds of teachers, right? Like I don't spend all my time with community college English language teachers. I spend my time with elementary math teachers, and I spend my time with, high school media teachers, right? And so once you start spreading all those other types of ideas, then you're like, okay, hold on a second. I'm not alone. Maybe I don't have the exact person doing my exact same job, but like that's not what we want. We want to be individual. We want to be unique. And so once you start reaching out kind of beyond your own field and seeing that there's other people out there with the same passion for education and the same passion for kind of growing and building things, that's when you when you start saying, "Hey, I'm not actually doing this alone. I just hadn't quite found my crew yet." And so that's what I recommend looking for there.
Yeah, it's amazing how many teachers you can talk to, isn't it, that actually have a lot of the same problems. It really isn't just the content. Same for me as mainly a language teacher. Like I'll talk to economists within my department, and would complain about the same things. It's amazing. Maria, how do you feel about this as well? How do you feel about the fact that some teachers, maybe like Brent said, they might not be trying to do it, but might end up, or they don't want to do it, but they might be doing a lot alone?
Let me share with you the words of an inspiring social activist. Her name was Ella Baker, and she was a civil rights activist in the 50s, the 60s. And Ella would show up in spaces, community forums, and public rooms, and she would say, "Who are your people?" She would always ask, "Who are your people?" And I feel like unconsciously, when I arrived at the university as an educator, I began to ask that question, who are my people? And I quickly discovered through the sage work of others, in particular Paulo Freire, a Brazilian educator, who said, teachers may be older and have more content, but they aren't the only teachers in a learning space. Students are teachers, and that teacher, meaning me, is also a learner. And so this idea of being alone, once I asked, who are my people? I discovered my people change all the time. When I walk into a classroom of 20, 30, 50 strangers, and that's what we do as educators. We walk into a classroom of strangers, close the door, and begin. I mean, that's terrifying. If you said to someone, I want you to show up regularly in front of strangers. Well, I don't know that I'd vote, myself into that space, but I realized that my people were in that classroom, and I was learning so much from my students that it really became relational, it became reciprocal. And so I'm going to flip the question and not talk about feeling isolated, but rather to follow Peter Senge's words. Instead of solving problems, let's create solutions. And I think very unconsciously, unintentionally, my solution was to ask, who are my people? And to not put restrictions on it, and to realize my people were each and every one of those young human beings in my classroom, allowing me to be present with them, bearing witness to the amazing transformation that was occurring within our community.
Such a wonderful answer and wonderful words as well. And you've got me thinking now, who are my people? And perhaps that's something everybody watching here today can have a think about as well, because I think those are really important words we should all think about. Who are your people? And thank you, Maria. That's wonderful. Mary, I'd like to ask you the same thing. So what do you think about educators perhaps trapping themselves alone in certain situations? Do you have thoughts on that?
I have too many thoughts on that. And very similar to Brent and Maria. First of all, I don't think teachers necessarily want to work alone. I think we're socialized to work alone, that there's this expectation of what it means to be professional. And in that definition of professional is handle it by yourself. And 50 years ago, Dan Lordy described teaching as an egg crate profession, where you go into your own little, just like Maria described, you go into the classroom, you close the door, you're in your little, each egg is in its own little compartment, right? So we work beside each other, but we're not touching each other. And so I think a lot of that comes from socialization. And even though I know teachers will always say, there's not enough time. There's not enough time. I don't have enough time to cover content. How am I going to be in community with you? You want to have a conversation? You have 30 seconds, go, It's not our structure of the day and our structure of our institutional approach to education can also make it very difficult to want to invest time into being in community. And one of the quotes that really feeds me is Brene Brown. She says, true belonging doesn't require you to change who you are. It requires you to be who you are. True belonging doesn't require you to change who you are. It requires you to be who you are. And I think the fear that we have, if I go into a community, if I share my ideas with you or my experience or my failures, that might mean that I would need to change. And that's hard. So I think another reason that teachers don't necessarily want to take that step is because in that space beyond my classroom, it's a very potentially prickly, scary, dangerous place where people might criticize me or where people might say I have to change. And then I feel ashamed because I'm a teacher and I'm professional and I feel like I'm doing my job, but I don't, in that space, maybe not. So just like Maria's saying too, it's a little scary to go into that room and see those 50 people. It's also scary to go outside of that room and, see those other people, which is why I definitely feel like what this community is doing is creating a safe space where we can be brave, where we can be who we are. And then we can truly learn and we can become our best selves.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's funny, isn't it? Because this is something we tell our students a lot, isn't it? Be yourself, don't be afraid, show your character. But we, as you said, Mary, sometimes think there's a template to be a teacher or an educator, and we maybe try to adhere to that template to not rock the boat or, get too much stress in our lives. But like you said, just be who you are. You'll find yourself in the right place, and people admire that. They respect it too. So thank you to all three of you for that. Those answers, they are wonderful. Now to our audience as well. You've been listening carefully, lots of comments coming flying in. I'm sure you've been enjoying all these expert opinions. What I'd actually like to do now, though, is involve you with a poll. So we've been talking about what things make communities meaningful. So I'd like to ask you a question. And the question that's going to appear on your screen shortly is, what do you think is the most important ingredient of a great professional community? And I think all of these are important. When you see them, you'll see what I mean. But I would like you to try to vote for one of them, if you possibly can, as perhaps the most important thing. If you had to choose one that you could keep, please choose that one. So I'm not sure if the panelists can see this, but you will see the result shortly. But I would like to ask everybody watching to please vote on what they believe is the most important thing. And it will take you a moment. Please take your time. It takes a little bit of reading. There are some options. And then we'll have a look at this as the panel afterwards. Maybe wait about a minute.
Great options there.
Mm.
I think I vote for all of them, even though I can't.
I mean, they're all important, right?
Exactly.
It's very hard to choose, but I think it
what's
will
the
make great discussion to see if there's any that stand out as the most important. So thank you. We've got about 29 votes so far. If you would like to vote. Very interesting. They're all going up together at the same speed. Not sure. There may well not be a clear winner, which is totally fine. Okay, I'll give you everybody about another 20 or 30 seconds maybe to vote. Okay, let's say about 10 more seconds if you can choose one. Okay. And also, yeah, I mean, somebody just wrote in the chat, Eric, who was our key speaker today. Thank you very much, Eric. If you want to write stuff in the chat as well, that's absolutely fine. If it's not on the list, it's not an easy choice. So I think I'll end the poll there and I will share the results. I hope you can see those on the screen now. So there's no clear-cut winner. Perhaps the one that did get the most votes was people who genuinely support one another, the bottom option there. I mean, that certainly came up in all of the answers so far in our panel. Trust at the top there, psychological safety, we talked about that, feeling safe as well. Opportunities to grow professionally was actually the lowest scored, but although, of course, that is important within a community. But as you look at these answers, I think we can see a lot of very human things coming out there. If any of our panelists would like to mention them, Mary, is there anything you'd like to say about the result?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think each one is an individual answer, but they're also all connected too, right? Like I need trust and psychological safety in order to share my ideas, or if I feel genuinely supported by people, I have to feel like I belong and I feel that sense of trust. So I think they're also all interrelated, and I love that there is somewhat of a balance that the result of all of those leads to opportunities to grow professionally. So it's okay that that wasn't so high.
Right, right. Brent or Maria, anything to add?
I was just curious if there are generational differences. What if we were to ask this question in our classes to young people? You know, what's the most important ingredient of a great learning community? And I wonder if there would be generational differences, or if in fact the same would be appearing. I'm very curious now. Now I want someone to go and do it so that
you've given VOC their next mission, I think. I mean, something at VOC we're very interested in doing is hearing a lot from students, and that is a fantastic thing. Maybe I won't say everybody, I'll call myself an oldie here, but you know, my viewpoints from my students is probably maybe different. Yeah, that's a fantastic way of looking at it. Thanks. Brent, anything to add?
Yeah, just following up on Mary's idea, I mean, these to me are all definition, if you were to say what is community, right? Like these are just parts of those definitions. And so I think that, the quite balanced answers, where it's like out of all the people who answered, is very close balanced on everything in terms of what everybody's saying is value. It is a sign that like all of these are key components of building a good community. And I do love that it's, it really is human centered here. Like all of these are about, working together and connecting with each other. And so I'm just very happy to see it in that way.
Great. Yeah. So I'll stop sharing that. And yeah, thank you everyone in the audience for sharing your opinions about that too. It's important that we hear from you as well. We're not just here to hear our voices. We want to, as we say, it's community, so we want to know what you're thinking. I'm going to move on to the next question. We have 3 questions left, actually. And the next one, well, we talk about communities that don't just share information. They encourage people to ask questions, experiment, and even fail without fear. We saw that in the poll. Safety is an important issue in communities, right? So, Mary, could I start with you on this next question, which is, how do we build communities where people feel safe and they feel safe enough to actually contribute to that community?
Thanks so much. I think psychological safety, it doesn't happen by accident at all. It has to be intentionally designed and nurtured. And in my world, the way we're doing that is to work on relational agility. And relational agility is the ability to build, nurture, maintain, and repair relationships. And it's a relationship not only with other people, but my relationship with myself too. So it's those build, maintain, nurture, repair. And the repair is also something that I think is that to me is one of the biggest trust and safety builders. because, and it's something that I didn't learn explicitly growing up. I didn't learn in graduate school. I didn't, I learned it through life and through how do we keep a community going? We have to learn how to repair relationships and repair things with ourselves. So listening with curiosity and asking genuine questions and making space for multiple perspectives and celebrating individuality and celebrating communality, celebrating all of our little wins, holding space for each other in how we are approaching our life challenges. The biggest way I think trust grows and safety grows is through consistency in that. So people will contribute when they feel like they belong. And when you know that you are important and that your voice matters, if you use your voice or if you don't use your voice, both of those matter. That is when I think we're going to have safety in our communities.
Yeah, I mean, it's not only do I agree, I just think that's the right answer. It reminds me of just being a parent. Anyone else is a parent as well. The first thing you have to learn to do with your kids is make them feel safe. And students are the same. Even adults like us, we're the same too. If you don't feel safe, yeah, you're not going to really push yourself out there, are you? So, yeah, great answer. Thank you. Maria, can I ask you the same thing? So, how do you think we can make communities that make people feel that safety?
Bob, I like the adage, we have to go slow to go fast. And to me, this is particularly important right now during this time of highly valued efficiency. It seems like society, because of AI and because of just technological changes, has now decided that what is most valued is to go at warp speed towards efficiency. Forget the outcome, right? The process has to be efficient. And yet, it is absolutely paradoxical to how we can be our best selves in community. It's a paradox to think that, well, for efficiency's sake, we don't have time to talk to our students. I mean, just listen to how that sounds. No wonder we're caught up in this cycle of what feels like destruction, the destruction of humanity. And so I want to go slow because I have the certainty that if I make the time to do it right at the beginning, we will catch up. We see that in language learning all the time. Go slow. No, children don't get confused if they're multilingual, but you go slow and they will catch up. I believe that trust operates best on this platform. Let's go slow. Let's build it and trust that we will be able to move forward. And not only do we trust the process, but then we develop trust with one another.
Fantastic answer. Yeah. And I think we're in a world where everything feels quite fast right now, doesn't it? Especially with technology. We all have a habit of trying to do things quicker right now, don't we? So slowing down is actually a positive thing. And I think, yeah, we forget that. So definitely slowing things down is definitely an important thing. I completely agree. Thanks, Maria. Brent, can I come to you as well? What do you think about making things feel safer in communities?
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the big things that happens is how the leadership is showing up, in any community. And so to me, it seems that the leadership themselves need to show their willingness to be vulnerable, right? And say like, hey, I'm running this event or I'm giving this speech, but I don't know everything about it, or I am not the perfect, I don't have every single thing that like this concept that the room is smarter and the room is better than the individual, right? And so encouraging that thought process is what can help people feel like, oh, okay, hold on a second. I don't have to be the best to be able to talk about my own experiences. I don't have to, and whatever the best means, I guess, right? But encouraging that thinking, right? I think what happens is a lot of, especially on the digital world, we see so many people posting, of course, on social media, and it's like wins and successes, and it's like, a lot of people don't just post their like, I'm just sitting on my sofa thinking, whatever it is, right? And so, but seeing that kind of vulnerability and authenticity from other people, where it's like, hey, oh, these people who are, big names or leaders or whatever else it is, they're doing these things, they're making mistakes, they're willing to talk about it. And then they feel more willing to be vulnerable in their own participation. So maybe it's, hey, this is the first time I've ever done a presentation, but I think I can do it, right? And so I think that level of openness and support is a really great way for, people to build opportunities to make others feel safe too, right? Because it's not just about the person saying, "Oh, I need to make myself feel safe." The community needs to embrace us to make us feel that we're part of it.
Yeah, this misconception that everything has to be perfect, isn't it? Like you said, the kind of images that we get. And I think Gen Z, I mean, even much more than us, even now, are just the influx of perfection of everything and airbrushing and not just the physical things, but like you said, the performance and everything. Perhaps it's harder for teachers in communities to feel safer now than it was before, maybe because of that. I don't know. Fantastic answers from all of you. Really great. And we have just a couple of questions left. And I'll jump into the next one. And I'd like to stay with you, Brent, actually, for the next one. This is a technology-based question. I know you're a world expert on technology, so this is definitely directed at you to begin with. So technology has completely changed the way educators connect. I mean, we're here right now doing the VOC launch. This wouldn't have been possible a few years, going back. So today we can collaborate with teachers across the world, but are we actually becoming more connected? So the question is, has technology made communities stronger, or has it simply just given us more places to talk? So I'd hand that over to Brent, please.
Yeah, this is a hard one. I go back and forth on it all the time, right? Like, so I am, very much into technology and exploring it and all these things, but I also spend a lot of time not dealing with any technology at all, right? Going off, going camping and being very far away, making sure, people are shocked when they see my phone and that I have zero social media and I have about 3 apps on my phone total at this point. So, like where are you finding the places to reduce the technology because it does get invasive, right? Like, and I think the question around it really is the technology working for you or are you working for the technology, right? When you're part of these, opportunities for community. And so how are you focusing that and the way that you're taking advantage of it? So yes, there are definitely more places to talk, but we also see clearly in the world right now, like people are more and more separated from one another. We have wonderful opportunities like this to come together, but I also see lots and lots of people saying, "Hey, well, give me my in-person conferences. I want them back," right? And so now I'm starting to see like, oh, we've got this kind of wonderful combination of like, hey, we've got these opportunities to come together digitally, and we're also really coming back and recognizing that these physical in-person things are necessary. So I don't know if there's a clear answer to the question of does it make community stronger. It can make community stronger. It can make parts of community stronger, right? If if you are using an intentional approach to be able to make that happen, right? That is going to be stronger. But if you're just looking for echo chambers, and that's one of the things I like about Voices of Change, it's like we're like, let's talk about different ideas, let's talk about different ways to do things. If we're out of that echo chamber and if we're kind of saying, hey, we want to make sure that we're respecting other people's ways of thinking and approaches to it, then those are certainly strengtheners for all of our communities.
Yeah, great answer. Yeah, I think we've all felt that, haven't we? Especially as things went very online with the pandemic, particularly, and everything was online for a very long time. But the one thing it did teach us is not just how to use technology, but the human side is really important as well. So that both perhaps, or a combination of both, is how we get better as communities. Thanks, Brent. Mary, can I ask you the same question, actually? So, are we using technology in a way that makes communities stronger, or do you think we're just talking together with technology?
I don't know. I think it really depends on the individual. And I don't know exactly what's happening inside sort of each and every teacher's head. I do know that technology has transformed what's possible. And I have collaborated with educators around the world in ways I could not have imagined 25 years ago. 25 years ago, you'd go to a conference and meet people and maybe have newsletters or emails, but we gave a course on trauma-informed teaching. I was in Costa Rica, my colleague was in the United States. The course was on 6 or 8 weeks online. And then we went to Israel for two weeks, I think. And it was a really powerful course. It was really, and the teacher, it was because it was a relevant topic. The teachers were forming communities. Our focus was community. They weren't in groups, they were in pods. We were using words that were all about, trying to create the sense of community within the language that we were using, even though we were working online. So, connecting and community aren't the same thing, but if we work to create community, I totally think it's possible. And I've seen it and I've experienced it and felt it. So as long as we're keeping ourselves focused on the human element, and as Brent is saying, as long as we are using technology for our purposes, not creating our life around technology, I think that works. And I think if we're creating a sense of mutuality, I started out my answer here with saying, I don't know. Like, that's vulnerable, right? And I'm sure that some people would think, oh, she's supposed to know, she's on the panel. But, if we can really just be authentically ourselves and learn that. And that involves relational agility, right? Like, I have my relationship to myself gives me the power to sit in front of you and say, I don't know, but I have some ideas, right? And if I can listen to other people and they have that power to say, I don't know, or I do know this, I think I know this, but maybe, and so we can explore. So I love AI. I also think that it can be really dangerous if it's used as an all-knowing, all-being, but if it's like a thinking partner and that I'm still thinking, yeah, okay, I like that, or I don't like that, that's fine. So I don't think the future is only technology. I think it's about using our technology to deepen our humanity. And I think we're going to have to relearn that lesson over and over and over again. We're just going to have to keep learning that we have to go. And, I think 100 years ago, people were talking about coming back to humanity too, So I just think we're relearning this again and again, that how do we be human with each other? And then how do we really support and lift each other up through that?
Yeah, I love how you say, what you said that I really liked was that humans are using the technology. I think using it is a good way. And like what Brent was saying as well, we don't want to get trapped in it. And, we want to, it depends on the individual. It depends on the person, doesn't it? And we need to use it for our advantage. And I love how you said you didn't know as well. And I think that is a part of feeling safe when people hear panelists, world experts such as yourself and your teacher or even your parents or anybody say, I don't know. I think that's a good thing because it creates that gap of, okay, we'll do this together. Yeah, thanks so much. And we'll move on to the next question, guys, which is the last question before we have a kind of final summary or reflection of everything we talked about. And I'd like to stay with you, Mary, actually, to start this one. So education is changing rapidly. We mentioned with AI, global collaboration and new ways of connecting. All this technology flying around, things are changing in education. So let's look to the future. If we met again, say 5 years from now, what will great educator communities look like 5 years from now? What do you think?
I love it because I think there's so many things that could be the same and so many things that can be totally different in only 5 years. I hope that we'll spend less time asking, what technology are you using, and more like, who are you becoming? Who are you with your students? Who are you with your peers? What is it that is still meaningful and so meaningful to you about being a teacher? Because our world needs great teachers. Our world needs dedicated teachers who are connected to themselves and to their students. So I'm hoping that our work in this community in 5 years will really create this movement of belonging, and that will be I hope in 5 years, everybody will say, we're co-creating knowledge. We're co-creating community. We're co-creating the conditions where learning can happen. if we can just get co-creating as the word of that would be amazing and beautiful. So how can we help each other flourish? And I think that in 5 years, I think that will be a norm for us, that we show up not to show what we know and show who we are, but we show up to be here with each other and to support each other using the different resources that we all have. That would be really amazing and beautiful.
I hope you're right. That sounds wonderful.
Let's
I
do
hope
it.
my
Let's do
classrooms
it.
look like that. Yeah, brilliant. Brent, can I ask you, what are your feelings? So 5 years, let's jump in a time machine and go 5 years in the future. What do you think a really good educator community should look like?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it needs to change that much, to tell the truth. I mean, the educator communities are great. Like, people the ones that get together and that work are really wonderful. The technology might change, right? The way that things look and how we do things. Um, I was lucky enough a couple of years ago to go to Eric's lab actually in person over there in Kyoto, and like I saw all the cool things he was building with this 180-degree circle, and students walking in and out of rooms virtually together, and I was like, okay, this is so cool. And it is very, very cool, and it's also still the ultimate goal of those things is to virtually bring people together and virtually have them kind of working and learning and sharing ideas from each other, whether they're across the world or in the next room or sitting right next to each other, right? And so I think that whole part of it is that the communities will look good when people are working together, and trying to make something better that's beyond just the one person's ability. And so I don't know that any technology itself is going to necessarily make any changes, but I think that I mean, I think they're interesting and fun to play with, but the real fundamentals of what an educator community is going to look like is not going to be super different. The conversations will change, but our goals of sitting together and being in a room and learning from each other will continue to be there, I think, for all time.
Yeah, and I think no change is a good thing, perhaps, in this case, right? I think community is community and people are people. And I hope that, technology doesn't turn us in any kind of wrong direction that it maybe does in some bubbles. So yeah, brilliant answer. I hope it does look like that. And Maria, what are your thoughts? What would you think in 5 years from now would be your ideal community kind of look?
Ideally, and what I am very committed to contributing towards, is deeper engagement around transformative dialogue. In 2020, we all practiced social distancing, and I think we're still practicing it, even though it's not necessary. And I would ask that from today forward, we each practice social engagement, and that we connect, and that we move beyond talking and truly move to a concept of transformative dialogue. As Paulo Freire put it, dialogue is not ping pong. You talk, I talk, you talk, I talk. Dialogue is the willingness to listen, to understand, and to change. So that sense of transformation is necessary if we're going to follow Brent and Mary's guide here of truly being able to engage, to humanize, to connect. So in 5 years, I would love to see us engaging in transformative dialogue. It's not mutually exclusive of tech or AI, but it's a pivot on what we value.
Wonderful. And just such a wonderful way to end that question. Yeah. Thank you so much to all of you. Well, leading on from that, before we finish the panel, I would kind of like a nice final reflection from all of our panelists, if we can do that. I'd like to think about one final thought that you might be able to offer to all the people who have been listening to us at this VOC launch event. Thank you again, everybody. I'm very sorry, if we haven't addressed all of the comments and things, but we will have much more interaction with you after the panel. But I think everything that's been said has probably resonated with you all a lot. So the final thought that I'd like everybody on the panel to do is complete one of two different sentences. You can choose. You can see it shared on the screen now. You can either finish the sentence, "We become our best when," or "Community matters because." And I invite everybody watching this to write their answer in the chat too. You can answer one of those or both of those. And let's see what everybody thinks. Let's see how different they are or similar they are. But on our panel, I would like to start with Maria. Could you please choose one of those sentences that maybe caused you the most and finish the sentence for us?
We become our best when we center our work on love. When we extend ourselves to one another while also valuing our best self.
Wonderful. That's very nice. So again, a lot of humanness in that. I love it. Brent, could you please choose one and finish it for us?
Whew, I don't know if I can beat that one. We're not beating each other. I guess I think we become our best when we see ourselves as learners first and educators second.
Great. Wonderful. Again, humility, isn't it? Just thinking ourselves of learning. Love it. And then Mary, could you choose one and complete it for us?
Yeah, I love them both. I love both of what you said, Brent and Maria. Beautiful. So I'm going to try the last one. Community matters. Community matters because every person has something to contribute and something to learn. We grow through mutuality and reciprocity. And community matters because it is ongoing work. And I say that in a nice way. Like we need to continually work to create and nurture our communities. And by creating community, we become community. So community matters.
Wonderful. Very nice. And I'll add my own as well, actually. And it's kind of been inspired by everything we've been talking about and listening to you guys. You're world experts in what you do. I think I would say we become our best when we realize that we're not perfect and that being human and not perfect is a beautiful thing. And I think that makes a kind of a nice little addition of my own at the end there. But I would just like to say, we're wrapping up the panel now. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you to all three of you for coming because it's amazing that we got such three experts from all over the world with such life experience to share with us what they think about community. So I'm sure the audience are very grateful. You can see huge amounts of hearts and thumbs coming flying in. That's perhaps one of the good parts of technology for community. You can do all those cool icons. So we're actually now going to take a short break. So thank you again to the community, to the panel and everyone watching. I'm sure you're tired. And perhaps if you want to go and take a 5-minute break, you could perhaps grab a cup of coffee, or if it's late, like here in Japan, if you want to get yourself a beer, or maybe just go to the bathroom or take a quick stretch. And we'll be back in about 5 minutes from now. So thank you very much and see you then. Welcome back to the Voices of Change global launch, Grow Beyond the Classroom. We hope you had a good break. And now, please welcome to the stage VOC co-founder Mohammed Nabil.
Have you ever felt that education talks a lot about teachers, but not always with teachers? We keep talking about curriculum, assessment, technology, AI, policies, and reform. But sometimes the real voices of educators, the people inside classrooms, training rooms, schools, and learning communities are not heard enough. And that is why Voices of Change Global Initiative was created. Voices of Change is a global professional space for teachers, teacher trainers, school leaders, researchers, and change makers who believe that education should be more human, more inclusive, and more connected. It's a place where your story matters, your questions matter, your classroom experience matters. Your challenges, your reflections, your ideas, and your voice can become part of a wider global conversation. Because change in education does not only come from systems, it comes from people. It comes from teachers who reflect, leaders who listen, trainers who empower, and communities that rise together. At Voices of Change, we are not here to create another platform full of noise. We are here to build a meaningful, professional home where educators can learn, share, grow, collaborate, and be recognized.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm very happy to continue this journey with you at Voices of Change. Community grows not only through membership, but also through shared experiences, events, conferences, conversations, and platforms where educators can meet new ideas and learn from different voices. EduCast is one example of this spirit. It brings educators together around meaningful educational themes and creates space for dialogue, learning, and connection.
It started with a question. What if educators everywhere could learn from one another? Not limited by geography, not limited by institutions, connected by purpose. Across 4 EduCast global conferences, more than 30,000 educators have joined the conversation.
From classrooms to conference screens, educators have shared ideas, explored new possibilities, and shaped better learning experiences.
And through EduCast Interviews podcast, these voices have traveled even further, reaching listeners in over 88 countries.
Because EduCast has never been only about events.
It has always been about people, stories,
practice, and professional growth.
Today, EduCast continues to grow as a global space for teachers, trainers, leaders, and changemakers in education. EduCast International, connecting educators, growing voices, leading change.
This is part of how VOC helps educators grow beyond one classroom, one school, or one local context. What we have just seen is one example of how a community can create space for educators to connect, share ideas, and grow through meaningful educational work. And this is exactly the spirit VOC hopes to bring together. Not one organization, not one voice, and not one pathway, but many people and communities contributing to something larger. We would now like to share a few short messages from educators and supporters who believe in the spirit of VOC.
What makes
These voices come from different places, different professional journeys, and different parts of the education world, but they all point to the same belief. Education grows stronger when people choose to support one another, learn from one another, and help good work travel further. As you watch, listen not only to the words, but also to the hope behind them. The hope that no meaningful voice in education should remain unheard, and no educator should feel they are growing alone.
Hello everyone, I'm Sana Ilyas, an English language educator and trainer from Pakistan. One of the things that I really love about education is that no one has all the answers. Every educator brings a unique perspective which is shared by their own experiences, challenges and successes. Whenever we come together to exchange ideas, we leave with something new to think about, to try, to improve, to test, to come back and talk about. That is what excites me about Voices of Change. For me, VOC is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity to connect with educators from different backgrounds, learn from one another, and build a community where knowledge isn't just shared, it's created together. What makes VOC especially exciting is that we're part of it from the very beginning. Every conversation, every experience, and every connection has the potential to shape what this community becomes. If you're someone who enjoys learning and sharing your experiences and connecting with educators who are passionate about making a difference, I'd invite you to join VOC. Let's learn from one another, grow together, and help create a community where voices have the power to inspire change. Thank you, and I hope to see you as part of the VOC journey.
Hi everyone, I am Andy Lucchesi. I'd like to share what VOC means to me. Teaching can sometimes feel surprisingly isolated, even though we're all working toward the same goal, helping people learn. For me, VOC is about changing that. It's about creating opportunities for educators from different countries, backgrounds, and experiences to connect, exchange ideas, and learn from one another. What I find most valuable is that this isn't about another online event. It's the beginning of a community, a place where conversations don't end and the presentations finish, but continue through collaboration, share experiences, and new professional relationships. I've always believed that some of the strongest ideas in education come from dialogue rather than working in isolation. Every educator brings a different perspective, and when we create space for those perspectives to meet, everyone benefits. Not just teachers, but ultimately our learners as well. That's what draws me to VOC. It's an initiative built around openness, curiosity, and the belief that we all have something worth sharing and something new to discover. If that idea resonates with you, I hope you'll join us. I'm looking forward to meeting educators from around the world, learning from their experiences, and seeing where its community grows here. Thank you, and I hope to see you at VOC. Bye.
What we've heard from these voices is more than just encouragement. It's a reminder that Voices of Change is not only an idea from its founders, it's a shared invitation to connect, to contribute, and to build a professional home where educators can rise together and create change together. So it's now my pleasure to welcome our next plenary speaker, Hind Ilyas. Hind's session connects closely with today's theme, Grow Beyond the Classroom. She will explore how teachers can share their experience, ideas, and professional voice through communities of practice, and how these communities can support collaboration, growth, and collective impact. Hind is an English instructor at Al Falak Company, Saudi Arabia. She holds leadership roles with IATEFL Global Issues SIG, TESOL International, and KSAALT TESOL. And her work focuses on communities of practice and 21st century skills. Her session is titled Voice of Change, Building Teacher Growth Through Communities of Practice. Hind, welcome to the VOC Global Launch.
Hello, thank you very much for your warm welcome. It's an honor to be here today, and I look forward to sharing my journey with you. I'll start by sharing my screen. Is it showing?
Yeah, sure.
Just open Canva. All right, is it showing?
Yes, sure.
Great. Okay, let me know when I can start.
Yes, sure, you can start now.
Okay, great. All right. First, I'd like to start by thanking Mohammed, Robert, and everyone at Voices of Change for inviting me to be part of your very first conference. It's truly an honor to join a community that is built around exactly what I believe in, people learning from people. Now, before I begin, I'd like you to take a moment to look at this photograph. At a first glance, it looks like a group of educators posing for a photo after a conference, but that's not what I see. I see something completely different. I see mentors. I see colleagues who became friends. I see conversations that changed the way I teach. I see people who believed in me before I believed in myself. I see opportunities that started with one simple introduction. Most importantly, I see a community. And that's exactly what today's session is about. Not organizations, not committees, not titles, people. People who choose not to grow alone. Today, I'd like to take you on this journey, not through theories first, but through stories, because I believe stories help us understand ideas far better than definitions. If there's one sentence you remember from my presentation today, I hope it's this: behind every successful educator is a community. I truly believe this. Every conference that I've attended, every presentation I delivered, every committee I've served on, every podcast I've recorded, every leadership role I've had, every opportunity I received started with a community. Not because someone handed me success, but because someone encouraged me. Someone shared an idea. Someone invited me to volunteer. Someone believed I had something to contribute. Communities don't just give us knowledge, they give us confidence. They help us find our voice, and eventually, they help us become the person someone else is looking up to. But before I tell you my story, I'd like to learn a little about yours. I'd love to see where everyone is joining from today. Please scan the QR code. This is a Padlet. If you scan your QR code, you can find your location on the map and add a pin, write your name next to it, and then one word that describes a community of practice. So I'll give you an example and I'll show you how to use the Padlet. So I'm just gonna open my Padlet. If you can please share the scan the QR code, and in the meantime, I will open the Padlet. Okay, so this is the Padlet. And it's a map. You click on the post and tell us where you're joining from. So I'm based in Saudi Arabia, so I'll just add my city, which is Khobar. And, oops, there's a typo. Khobar. And there it is. And then you write something beautiful. So this is what a community means to you. So for me, it's belonging. And then you publish. Okay, so you just share your locations. I'll give you a few minutes to write that down, and then we can come back to the Padlet in a few minutes. I'll give you a minute, and let's see how many places we have. So if you need the QR code again, I'll just go back to share the QR code, and then you can add your information. So you just double click on your location, add your location, your country, and then a word that describes what a community means to you. Okay, I'll just go back to the Padlet. Okay, we have some responses here. We have Rombo. We have Denver, Tokyo, Saudi Arabia, Heredia. Wow, that is amazing. Any more? Let's add a few more. Denmark. Okay, I think that's Tanzania. That's amazing. Look at this. We're separated by thousands of kilometers, yet for the next 25 minutes, we are one community. So please keep adding to the Padlet. Tell us where you're from and tell us what the word community means to you. And we can come back to the Padlet afterwards. This is exactly what communities of practice are. They remind us that although our contexts are different, our purpose is the same. Now, let me tell you how one community completely changed my career. I'll just go back to the presentation, and you can keep adding your places and tell us what a community means to you. My journey started with one yes. TESOL conferences, formerly known as TESOL Arabia, which is the affiliate of TESOL International in the UAE, this is where everything started. I wasn't looking for leadership. I wasn't thinking about international committees. I didn't know anything about that then. Honestly, I simply wanted to become a better teacher. So I attended a conference. That's all. But something happened that weekend. I met people. I asked questions. I listened. I volunteered. I introduced myself. Looking back, I realized something very important. I wasn't just attending a conference. I was joining a community of practice. One conversation led to another. One introduction led to another. And eventually, those conversations opened doors I never knew existed. So let me ask you, have you ever attended an event that changed your professional life? Just type in the chat box and tell us about it, and we'll visit it if time allows. Perhaps some of you are attending Voices of Change for the very first, some of you are attending Voices of Change for that very reason. Maybe today your journey begins. Now I'm going to talk about the people behind my journey. Looking back, I realized that 5 people profoundly shaped my professional journey. 3 of them are past presidents of TESOL International Association, and one is incoming president of TESOL and founder of TESOL Sudan. Christine Combe, Ayman Al-Sheikh, Andy Curtis, Dudley Reynolds, and Alcon Effian. Christine and Ayman introduced me to TESOL International. Christine also invited me to join TESOL conferences, which was formerly known as TESOL Arabia, and encouraged me to pursue leadership, which led to me receiving the TESOL Leadership Mentoring Program Award. Ayman invited me to join TESOL Sudan and nominated me to serve as acting vice president of the association. Andy Curtis, who was president when I met him, saw leadership potential in me before I saw it in myself. Dudley Reynolds, also a past president of TESOL, has been a constant source of encouragement and support.
Oh, Hind, could you please check whether you're unmuted?
Okay.
Okay, yeah, that's
was
yeah.
it-
Now we can
was-
hear
was
you.
it- Okay, great. Was it the previous slide?
Yeah, that's right. The last couple of sentences.
Oh, okay. So what I mentioned was how many people gave me the opportunity to be part of associations, and I just wanted to thank the ones who helped me start my journey. My world expanded when I joined TESOL International. So when I attended TESOL conferences, I thought my journey would end there. Instead, it became the beginning. That experience, as I mentioned, introduced me to TESOL International, and suddenly my professional world became much bigger. I wasn't only learning from educators in my own region, I was learning from educators across the globe, different countries, different educational systems, different challenges. Yet I discovered something fascinating. Teachers everywhere were asking the same questions. How can I engage my students? How can I become a better educator? How can I make a difference? Through TESOL International, I didn't just gain knowledge, I gained relationships. Those relationships eventually led to committees, leadership opportunities, podcast conversations, lifelong friendships. Communities don't simply expand our knowledge, they expand our vision. And that's exactly what happened to me. My world expanded. Then something unexpected happened. Communities don't only help us learn, eventually they ask us to contribute. I had the privilege of serving as acting vice president of TESOL Sudan. That role completely changed the way I view professional communities. Leadership wasn't about titles. It wasn't about status. It was about service. It was about asking, how can I help someone else have the opportunities I had? Communities grow because members stop asking, what can I get? And begin asking, what can I give? That lesson has stayed with me ever since. And it's a lesson that continues to shape every community I'm part of today. One of the things I love most about communities of practice is that they rarely stay in one place. As my involvement with TESOL Sudan grew, new opportunities began to emerge beyond my country. I then had the privilege of serving with KSOL TESOL in Saudi Arabia. Yeah, I'm not sure why. Okay, so my involvement with TESOL Sudan, sorry, 1 second. As my involvement with TESOL Sudan grew, new opportunities began to emerge beyond my own country. I had the privilege of serving with KSOL TESOL as PD coordinator. Later, I became conference co-chair, working with a team to bring educators together through conferences that encourage collaboration, innovation, and the exchange of ideas. That experience taught me something important. Communities don't grow because of one person. They grow because every member chooses to contribute. Those experiences eventually led me to another incredible opportunity, which is serving as executive secretary at Africa ELTA, which I had the chance to collaborate with English teachers across the African continent. Suddenly, the conversations became even bigger. I wasn't only learning from educators in Sudan and Saudi Arabia and the Middle East, I was learning from colleagues across Africa, each bringing different experiences, different educational contexts, and different perspectives. Yet despite our differences, we are still asking the same question. How can we become better educators for our learners? That, to me, is the true power of communities of practice. They remind us that while our classrooms may be thousands of kilometers apart, our purpose is remarkably similar. And that's exactly what Voices of Change is doing today. It's bringing educators together from different communities, different countries, and different experiences so we can continue learning from one another. So far, I've shared my journey, but my experience isn't unique. It's supported by decades of research. Social learning theorist Etienne Wegner introduced the concept of communities of practice to explain how people learn, develop, and innovate together. He describes communities of practice as groups of people who share a passion and improve through regular interaction. There are three main elements that make a community of practice, and they make them different from any other professional network. The first one is a domain, and this is a shared purpose. For us, it's English language teaching, and it's why we're all here today. The second is community, where relationships are built, not networking for the sake of collecting contacts, but building genuine relationships, professional friendships. And these communities thrive because people trust one another enough to ask questions. They admit challenges and celebrate successes. Finally comes practice. This is where knowledge becomes action. We exchange lesson ideas, we share research, we mentor one another, we reflect together. And over time, our individual expertise becomes collective expertise. That's why I say communities of practice aren't just places where we learn, they're places where we belong. And belonging changes everything. One of Wegner's most influential idea is legitimate peripheral participation. Learning in a community of practice begins on the periphery, where new members observe, listen, learn. They learn how the community works. And as they grow confidence, members start to ask questions. They share ideas. And over time, they contribute more actively. They support others and eventually take on leadership roles. What's powerful is that leadership isn't the starting point. Participation is. When I reflect on my own journey, I realize this model perfectly describes my experience. I began attending TESOL conferences and quietly observing. Then I volunteered, presented, and eventually served in leadership roles. Same pattern through Africa ELTA, KSOLT TESOL, TESOL International, IATEFL. I never planned to become a leader. I simply kept saying yes to opportunities to participate. That, I believe, is the real message of communities of practice. Every leader starts as a learner, and every learner has the potential to become a leader. Communities of practice transform the way we learn, connect, and grow. First, they create learning. So instead of learning alone, we're learning together, solving problems together, and improving practice. Second, they shape our professional identity. As we participate, we begin to see ourselves not only as teachers, but as contributors, mentors, presenters, researchers, and eventually leaders. Third, they foster a sense of belonging. Communities provide encouragement, trust, support, and they remind us that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. Finally, they create shared knowledge. Every conversation, resource, idea, and experience adds to the collective expertise of the community. Knowledge grows because it's shared. When I reflect on my journey, I realized that none of these communities simply gave me opportunities. They helped shape me who I became as an educator. And perhaps that is the greatest gift of a community of practice. It doesn't just develop what we know, it transforms who we become. And when communities transform individuals, they also transform the communities around them. So far, we've explored what communities of practice are, how people move from the periphery to the core, and now I'd like you to think about your own journey. Every educator in this room or joining us online today is somewhere on this path. Some of you might be observers. You're listening, learning, exploring new ideas, and discovering where you fit. Others are participants. You're attending conferences, joining webinars, asking questions, and building connections with other educators. Some of you are already contributors. You're sharing resources, presenting at conferences, mentoring colleagues, volunteering, supporting professional communities. And some of you are leaders, creating opportunities for others, bringing people together, and helping your communities grow. Here's a very important message. There's no best place to be. Every stage matters. Communities need observers because they become tomorrow's participants. Communities need participants because they're tomorrow's contributors. Communities need contributors because they're tomorrow's leaders. And leaders have the most important responsibility of all, creating opportunities for the next generation to begin their own journey. So I'd like you to take a moment and think about one important question. Where am I today? And perhaps an even more important question, what is my next step? Finally, this slide reminds us that meaningful change rarely begins with something big. It starts with a very small action. Perhaps it's attending your first webinar, introducing yourself to someone after a conference, joining an online discussion, volunteering for a small role, or simply asking a question. Those actions may seem insignificant at the time, but they create ripples that continue far beyond what we can see. As Wegner reminds us, learning is social. When one person learns, that learning doesn't stay with them, it spreads across through conversations, collaboration, mentoring, and shared practice. That's exactly what happened in my own journey. One decision to become involved in a community of practice eventually led to opportunities in TESOL Sudan, Africa ELTA, KSALT TESOL, IATEFL, TESOL International, and now the Voices of Change Network. None of these opportunities were part of a grand plan. Each one began with a simple conversation, a volunteer role, or simply showing up. Then the ripple became larger. One educator influences colleagues, those colleagues influence their institutions, institutions connect with other communities. Eventually, those connections cross countries and continents. That is how communities of practice create collective impact. So I encourage you to think about your own ripple. What small action can you take today that might create opportunities you cannot yet imagine? So far, we've explored what communities of practice are, how they help us grow, and why they matter. Now, I'd like to make it personal. I'd like you to think about your own professional ecosystem. Not where you've been, but where you want to grow. When I look at my journey, I don't see one organization that transformed my career. I see an ecosystem. TESOL Sudan, TESOL conferences gave me my first opportunity to learn, volunteer, and lead. KSALT TESOL allowed me to support educators at the national level. Africa ELTA broadened my perspective by connecting me with colleagues around the African continent. And TESOL International IATEFL opened the door to global collaboration, new ideas, and lifelong professional relationships. And today, Voices of Change has become another part of the ecosystem by bringing together educators from communities around the world. The important thing is this: no single community did everything. Each one contributed something different. Together, they shaped who I became as an educator. Now think about your own ecosystem. Do you learn inside your institution, or have you connected nationally, regionally, globally, online? Every layer adds something different. Your colleagues help you solve today's classroom challenges. National associations help you understand your local context. Regional communities expose you to neighboring perspectives and shared experiences. International communities challenge your thinking and introduce you to ideas from around the world. The strongest professional network isn't one community, it's an ecosystem of communities working together. So I'll leave you with one question. Which part of your professional ecosystem is still missing? Because identifying that missing piece might be the first step towards your next opportunity. I'd like to leave you with a challenge. Not next year, not next month, this week. Join one community, introduce yourself, ask one question, share an idea, volunteer once. Those small actions changed my career, and they can change yours too. Communities grow because experts arrive. They don't grow because experts arrive. They grow because members participate. I'll finish with a quote that perfectly captures the spirit of Voices of Change. Alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much. Thank you for allowing me to share my journey and, importantly, the ideas behind it. I hope when you leave today, you won't just remember communities of practice. I hope you'll become an important part of one. Thank you very much, and I look forward to the rest of the event.
Thank you so much, Hind. Thank you so much. Your message about communities of practice, belonging, and the idea that behind every successful educator is a community really captured the spirit of what VOC is all about. And I especially appreciated how you connected your personal journey to the wider role of professional communities in helping educators find their voice, grow in confidence, and create opportunities for others. It was also a privilege to have you with us and to hear your story as part of our very first VOC event. So thank you again for adding so much depth, warmth, and meaning to the conversation. Your message really connects strongly with the purpose of VOC, and it shows us that communities of practice is any educator's path towards personal and professional growth. So, of course, we have a couple of questions before we move to our next part of our event for today. So the first question is, how can a teacher who is still in his early years in teaching or in education, how can this teacher choose the best community of practice to join? Is it something that needs people to go and ask, or maybe you have some recommendations or some pieces of advice?
That's actually a very good question. And it's different. It depends on, you can start with your regional, local affiliate. I mean, I'm happy to share, like, if I know where the person is from, I can find their local affiliate. But you can also start with TESOL International, which is TESOL International IATEFL. So you can either start with your local and then move to the big association, or start with the big ones, and they will help guide you and show you which one to join. So I would go with TESOL International IATEFL. They have TESOL International has so many affiliates. If you're in a different country, you can also find regional associations. And I'm happy if I can send you my email. You can reach out and I can connect you to these associations. I'll share my LinkedIn.
Yeah, sure, you can share that. And of course, if teachers need a voice, they know exactly what to do. They can sign up for a free membership through our website, voicesofchange.education. So thank you so much for that hint. And moving to another question, you said behind every successful educator is community. What should a teacher do if they feel they don't currently have that kind of community around them? What should they do?
There are so many communities, if in their local regions, or if there aren't any association, there's so many online. I'm currently serving on the TESOL International Membership Council, and there's so many opportunities. You don't even need to be there face-to-face. There are webinars, opportunities to, start by reviewing proposals, joining committees. You can just volunteer and just start at the periphery like I did. For a whole year, I was just observing. I was part of the Membership Professional Council. So for a whole year, I didn't take any responsibilities. I was just observing for a whole year. And then I decided, I want to apply to be a chair. So I did. And then they do support you. You can be chair, incoming chair for a year, then past chair. So there's a lot of support, a lot of guidance. You can also apply for awards, scholarships to attend the face-to-face convention. So if you just, and there's a mentorship program where you can, someone from the association can guide you and show you how to get more involved and move from the periphery to the core.
Yeah, so you mean that it's a process that requires patience and dedication. Yeah, that's great.
And it also depends on what you like. Like, you might join a community. There's so many in TESOL International. There's so many different communities of practice. There's technology, the membership council, the professional council. So you might find that, oh, you might join a committee and then say, oh, I really feel like I'm more interested in doing something different. And then you move to a different one. So there's so many things. And while you're there, you'll realize that you might be more interested in something else. You'll know, and you just gravitate towards something different. The most important thing is get your foot in the door.
Yeah, that's right. So you have to take the initiative, and then you will find out what to do. And this leads us to another question. I know that it might be a tough one. In your journey, one yes opened many doors. So how can teachers recognize which opportunities are worth saying yes to?
That's a very good question, because you don't know which one, right? So just say yes to every opportunity. Yeah. You never know which one's going to open the door. It's just being flexible, being open, and you never know which opportunity is the one that's going to open a door. Like, for example, somebody might ask you to, for example, TESOL Sudan. At the beginning, Ayman al-Sheikh, who's the founder of TESOL Sudan, asked me if I could help organize the conference. So I was like, oh, okay, why not? I helped, and then I didn't know that the president, and he was the vice president, I didn't know that they actually had a plan for me. So they just asked me if I could help with the conference, and I wasn't even a member. So because they found that I was active, then by the end of the conference, he said, okay, we need to start planning next year's conference, and you're in charge. I'm like, what? I'm in charge? So that's how it started. I'm like, okay. And then there was an election and everything, and then one thing led to another. And then after that, I got into Africa ELTA. And so you don't know which opportunity. So just be open to everything. Whenever there's an opportunity to do anything, just volunteer, do it. And then one thing leads to another. One door opens another door. You might do something and nothing might happen, but there's a big chance that, the more open you are, the more opportunities you'll have.
So let's say that a good teacher should be a risk taker, right?
Absolutely.
And so they should, exploit every possible opportunity.
True. And that's also in our jobs as well. So if somebody asks you to do something and step out of your comfort zone, if you're reluctant, you might miss an opportunity for a promotion.
You're definitely right. So thank you, Hind, for such a meaningful session again.
Thank you so much.
You reminded us that communities of practice are of a really great importance to all teachers. You reminded us also that communities of practice are not only places where educators meet, and they are places where teachers exchange knowledge, grow through participation, and turn their experience into shared professional value. And again, this connects beautifully with one of VOC's key pathways, publication and professional sharing. So through VOC, educators can share articles, classroom ideas, teaching materials, books, conversations, and professional stories in simple and accessible ways. We believe good work in education should not stay hidden in one classroom, one folder, or one school. When educators share what they know, their ideas can support others and create wider impact. So if you have a book idea, a teaching material idea, an innovative classroom practice, or a professional story worth sharing, we warmly invite you to publish and share with VOC Publishing. Bring your idea to us and let us help your voice travel further. And now, I'm honored to welcome VOC last co-founder, Dr. Lee Kwok, to the stage.
Hello, friends. Most of my best ideas start with a cup of coffee like this. It can be a conversation with teachers after a training day or after a conference. Or it can be a small moment of reflection in the park like I'm doing now. And throughout my career, when I work with a lot of teachers and schools and educators, one thing I notice is they give so much. They give their care, they give their energy, they give the knowledge to students and the communities. But also, I still notice that they grow quietly. They struggle quietly, and they learn quietly. They do a lot of things in the classroom, but their voices usually are not heard enough. That was one of the reasons why we created VOC Voices of Change. We want to create a space for teachers to share, to learn, and to get heard further. Not only big voices or famous voices, but real voices in the real classroom. No matter what culture, no matter what background, no matter what context, because sometimes change can start from a very small idea in the classroom, a simple questions or a small moment over a coffee like this. And VOC was created for those moments. So I hope one day you can be part of our journey of VOCs. Change together, rise together. Cheers.
So thank you, everyone. That short video shares a little of my own journey, but VOC is not built from one journey alone. It grows when people, with different people, communities, and organizations bring their work together. Before the official launch moment today, I would like to introduce two other first members of VOC, also two initiatives that are close to my heart: ProEd Education Solutions and Eduverse.
What does education mean to you?
To me, education means opportunity, the chance to learn about new things, to try new things, to go in new directions that you never expected.
Education means finding something you're passionate about and having an opportunity to polish your skills and enjoy doing it for the rest of your life.
The process by which we figure out who we can and should be.
Education is a universal right, where inclusivity and equity take center stage. ProEd was born of the belief that high-quality educational expertise can transform a society for the better. We believe that education is for everyone, not only for the privileged. With these noble objectives, ProEd is dedicated to offering a range of exceptional products that cater to the diverse needs of our clients and meaningful nonprofit initiatives for the community. Our comprehensive services include curriculum development, teacher training and professional development, and educational operations. We offer innovative solutions such as SCOS, a comprehensive framework for teacher evaluation and professional development. SCOS goes beyond traditional observation models by focusing on genuine student-centered practice, placing students at the true heart of teaching and learning. Complementing this framework is a curated library of video-based lessons designed to be practical, accessible, and motivating. These resources support teachers in reflecting on their practice and continuously enhancing the quality of their teaching. At ProEd, our commitment goes beyond products and services. Through our CSR initiatives, we regularly provide free access to the latest and most practical educational expertise, helping promote educational equity and nurture a culture of lifelong learning in society. One of our key initiatives is the Eduverse PD platform, an open and freely accessible professional development hub for educators around the world. Today, Eduverse has grown into a global community of over 8,000 educators and followers from more than 200 countries, with engagement and collaboration increasing every day. Within Eduverse, we offer a dynamic range of professional learning platforms, Eduverse webinars, thoughtfully designed for passionate educators and led by experienced experts from around the world, Eduverse newsletters, a curated professional resource featuring insightful articles, expert interviews, emerging trends, and practical strategies to enhance teaching practice. Eduverse Podcasts, the world's first educational podcast hosted by AI. Our AI hosts Liz and Andy bring fresh perspectives and engaging conversations to educators everywhere. And through our Eduverse Facebook and Instagram channels, we share cutting-edge professional resources, classroom tips, and daily inspiration to support teachers in their journey. Through our signature ELT camps and GBG training days, ProEd delivers high-quality on-site training to educators across Vietnam. These collaborative programs have welcomed hundreds of participants and are highly regarded for their practical impact and excellence in professional development. In 2025, ProEd and Eduverse hosted Edu 361 Expo, a pioneering 48-hour nonstop global conference. The event united 120 international experts in an immersive 3D environment, featuring workshops, AI debates, and interactive panels. Attracting thousands of participants from 100+ countries, the Expo's 5 strategic tracks were designed to spark dialogue and reimagine the limitless future of teaching and learning. Our global network now includes over 40 respected educational organizations, many recognized as leaders in the field. These strong partnerships have been instrumental in our growth and recognition. In 2023, at the Asia Education Awards ceremony in Bangkok, Thailand, ProEd was honored with 2 prestigious awards: Excellence in Educational Consultancy and Innovation in Education for our flagship framework, SCOS. ProEd Education Solutions, your partner in shaping the future of education.
So, ProEd and Eduverse, they create spaces for educators to learn, share, publish, and connect through newsletter, webinars, interviews, and global community activities. So together, they reflect 2 important sides of VOC, supporting educational quality and helping educators' voices travel further. So, so far we have heard about the future of learning, the power of digital citizenship, the strength of community, the value of sharing professional knowledge, and the many ways educators can grow beyond the classroom. We have seen videos, stories, messages, and communities from different parts of the world. Each part has reminded us of one simple truth: education becomes stronger when voices are connected, supported, and recognized. And now I would like to invite my fellow co-founders, Blanca, Robert, and Mo, to join me on screen. So would you please turn on your cam again? Okay. So today we have shared stories, right? Ideas, communities, and voice. So we come to a very special moment, the official launch of VOC, Voices of Change.
That is true. Voices of Change begins with community because educators should not grow alone.
And VOC begins with voice because teachers' ideas, stories, and work deserve to travel further.
That's right. VOC begins with opportunity because educators, schools, and organizations need spaces to connect and create impact.
And VOC begins with quality because meaningful work in education deserves to be visible, trusted, and recognized. And today, with gratitude, hope, and commitment, we proudly say Voices of Change, VOC, is officially launched.
Ouch.
Okay. Yeah. All right, thank you, everyone. This is a very special moment for VOC, right? We are grateful that you are here to witness this with us. VOC has officially begun, but a professional home is never built by its founders alone. So VOC will be built by all of us here and around the world. Educators, students, parents, schools, organizations, education companies, and everyone who believes that education grows when people rise together, share together, and create a change together. And that brings us to another important moment today, everyone, welcoming our first VOC member. We just run our website for a week and we have received lots of subscription. Our members include both individual educators and organizations. Each of them represents the beginning of our wider VOC community, people and organizations who believe that voices should be heard, growth should be supported, and quality should be made visible. So you can see on the screen here, we have a lot of subscription we call first members. And of course, we are proud to welcome all of them. And we thank them for joining us at the beginning of this journey. Now, we would also like to invite everyone here to become part of VOC. If you are an individual educator, you can join VOC right now with a free lifetime membership. For school, education organization, communities, or education companies, we also warmly invite you to connect with us. You can leave us a message through the website or send us an email, and our team will get back to you with more details about organization membership and partnership opportunities. So please scan the QR code on the screen and complete the registration on our website. Okay, and you can easily find our website, very easy to remember, voicesofchange.education. Okay, .education, not edu, voicesofchange.education, and you can see all the information there. So again, VOC is open to educators and organizations everywhere. So bring your voice, bring your work, bring your ideas, and bring your community together. We can build VOC into a global home where educators and organizations rise together and change together.
Yes,
Okay,
and
so
we do
one
have
minute,
some time for all of you to register. You can also scan QR code or just take a screenshot to do it later because we are not stopping. We have another surprise for you. Thank you, Quoke, and congratulations to our first VOC members. And thank you, everyone for staying with us until this moment. I know that your back and your spine might not like it, but hopefully you can stretch afterwards. So we also thank you for your excitement, being so engaging and live, full of ideas on the chat, because altogether we co-create this event. And anytime you share the joy with VOC communities. Without further ado, we come to our final lucky draw. This is what we promised, and this is what we are going to do right now. So let's find out who will be today walking away with some special prizes. And thanks to our generous sponsors and speakers, today we have 5 exciting giveaways for our audience. One more time, thanks to the generosity of our guests, let me quickly tell you what prizes are waiting for you. As for first, we have 4 courses, Master the International Stage, proudly founded and sponsored by EduCast, right? Then we have 3 courses, Relational Agility by the Institute for Collaborative Learning, provided by our wonderful guest, Mary Scholl. 1 course, Digital Citizenship by Together Learning, provided by our another wonderful guest, Eric Hawkinson. And there we go with One Beyond the Automation Abyss course by, again, Together Learning, also provided by our guest, Eric Hawkinson. And finally, we have one-to-one coaching session on public speaking and voice techniques by For English Sake. It's July 7th, but I don't know how about you, it feels like Christmas. Before we begin, please remember, this lucky draw is only for participants who are present with us live today, despite your spine being in pain. Hopefully you aren't. So now let's all be aware because we are going to start with our first giveaway and you will see everything on screen. So let's see. 4 lucky participants with the first prize. And once you see your name and you are live, please let us know on the chat that you are with us. All right, we have Nadia Abu, LK, Sana Ailas, Mongia Elabet, and Marcos Santos. Please let us know if you are with us. If not, we are going to carry on spinning or pushing the very special red button that Quoke is in charge of. Okay. Let us know.
Congratulations, everyone.
Exactly. Congratulations. Now let's move to the next round. So the second prize. All prizes are wonderful. And now we've got Sarab Darwish, Patricia Arbona, Abdullah Mahmoud. Let us know on the chat if you are there. I'm here or not. Or maybe you are somewhere looking. So we will be monitoring. Everything is being recorded, so we will know. I think we are ready for round 3. And this is course by Together Learning, proudly sponsored by Dr. Eric Hawkinson today. And let's see who will be chosen. Fong Nyo, if I pronounce it correctly. I hope I do. This is a good part about such a global community. This is like a free course on pronunciation. I love it. Right. Yeah. So we have round 3. Now I think we are good to go with round 4. Another time, thank you, Dr. Eric, by sponsoring another prize that comes from Together Learning. And then we have Leslie Terrence. If you are with us, let us know. If you are still with us on the chat.
Congratulations, guys. These are awesome prizes.
Yeah.
Indeed, they are. As Salman wrote on the chat, congrats to everyone. And now I think we can go to round number 5 and we can all together have a high five. Stacy Crutchoville. Stacy, if you are with us, let us know. Everything will be saved and recorded, so we will know what kind of prize goes to you. Oh, we see that we've got United States, Vietnam, Egypt, Argentina, Iraq, Brazil, Tunisia, Pakistan, Egypt. Global Christmas time, as I said. Wonderful.
Well done, everyone.
Congratulations. And we just wanted to say congratulations for being with us, that you decided to spend your precious time on development and being part of this journey. And we could stay with you longer. We will do in the future because we love building communities. We love being part of it. But as we close today's VOC Global Lunch, once again, I wanted to thank our speakers, panelists, founding members, first member organizations, all supporters, and you. Every educator who joined us from around the world, sometimes between your tasks, between your daily routines, but you decided to be with us. You will soon receive an email after this event for all the instructions to download your certificate of participation. And we will kindly ask for your feedback about today's event, as sharing is caring and we are doing it together. What we can promise you today is that this day is only the beginning. VOC is now open and we invite you to keep growing with us. So please follow VOC, join our future events, spread the word, share your voice, and help us to build a community where you and every educator is seen, supported, and recognized, when we can feel like home. Because together we rise, together we change. That being said, one more time, thank you, everyone. And once again, welcome to Voices of Change.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Let's celebrate.
Thanks, guys. That was wonderful. Thanks so much for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
And now
you
we
very
can
much.
use the technology and use tons of emojis. And feel free also to connect with everybody. That's also the idea behind the chat. And also let's move this conversation and connecting way beyond Zoom. So let's catch up. Please let us know that you were with us on our social media channels, and let's just connect. More connections, the better. Let me quickly check on the chat. Thank you one more time, and congratulations to all winners. We are going to say goodbye right now to you. If you are ready, it's your night, so sleep tight. If you are just about to start your day, lots of power for you and creative ideas. See you around. We are not saying goodbye for long because you can expect another events, another opportunities from VOC. Thank you so much. Wishing you all the best. And one more time, I'm going to repeat myself like a parrot, but this is, sometimes words aren't enough. Thank you one more time for joining this community and being with us and co-creating.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much. Thanks, guys.
Bye.